Hello, how's it going? Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I got a new light and it was being funky with me a little bit. And then I was trying to fix these, but as you can see, I was unsuccessful. So I was like, screw it. It's fine. I'll fix them later. But yeah, they were all tangled up because these are like this really thin wire, and yeah, it gets very tangly. I have different ones that have more of like a softer, like they're not like rigid like this. They're like the wire is like wiggly and straight, and there's not so much of it. But they're more of like a bright white versus like a yellowish white, and apparently that, at least, I asked ChatGPT like what would be better on camera. Is it for like a yellower light or a little white light, or like the brighter white light? And it said that apparently the yellower is better. So that is what I went with. And sorry, I'm also a little stuffed up, but anyway, how's everybody doing? It's been a little while since I went live or posted anything. I don't remember exactly how long, but it's been over a week, I think. Or has it? Maybe I'm tripping. What is it, the 13th? Yeah, I feel like it's been a little bit. Let me check what I'm doing here. Okay, apparently my bitrate is off or something. Hello, Phantom, by the way. What is up? How's it going? I need to post the link in places. I haven't done that yet, so let me get that link. Doo-doo-doo. By the way, I saw the Erika Kirk thing. Apparently there's like a book now that they're doing. I feel like he just died and they've already got like a book coming out. It's a little weird, I think. Like, I don't know. Apparently, I didn't really look into it, but from what she has said, she wrote it. Hello, guest services. How's it going? Merry New Year. Happy New Year, almost. It's like, we still got some time, but yeah, what's up? So yeah, I don't know what y'all think about the Erika Kirk thing, but I saw those interviews that she did. At least I saw a few of them. I think that it seems like there's a lot more that she's done that I just haven't seen because there's so many, but yeah, it's still the so I don't know what's up with that. The whole thing is off-putting, but she was all like, I mean, obviously it was directed at Candace, but she was all like, don't be talking to my about my husband or whatever. And yeah, I mean, and of course she's got a book, so she's doing this like press tour to advertise the book, I guess. But she's also saying like, oh, don't be spreading conspiracy theories or derp. And there was one I saw where you know what, let me see if I can pull it up, because it was so weird. Like, from the I don't know, for some reason everything that I've seen of her looks so fake. Like, I can't pinpoint exactly what it is about it that makes it feel fake. And like, even the timing of everything seems really rushed. And like, I don't know. I feel like if my husband died and I had like little kids at home, I would want to just be like at home spending time with my kids, not like going out and running the company and doing all these like interviews and doing all this like public stuff and working and all of that. Because I mean, they're rich, they can afford for her to not do any of that. There's plenty of people that are like higher up in the organization that can be running the organization. Like, she doesn't have to be the one to do it. he's got plenty of like close friends or something that worked with him in the company that probably know more of like the day-to-day stuff anyway of how everything works there. So I don't know why it is like her that has to go and do that. And with the whole like, wait a minute, I thought she was all traditional, and a traditional woman wouldn't be going out there like taking over the company. I think she'd just want to, especially with the kids being that small and having lost their father too. It's like, I feel like if I were in that situation, I'd want to devote like 100% of my time to staying with the kids, and like having that luxury of not having to go out and work and everything is, I don't know. I don't get it. Chat boss babe. Hello Patrick, how's it going? Yeah, the whole thing is, it's icky. I don't know, something about it is icky, and let me, I got distracted because let me find that clip I was talking about. Where would I put it? I think I put it somewhere. Is it over here? Oops. Yeah, I think it was this one. Let me share it with you 1 second. This view is a little weird. Let's go. Okay, that's a little better. No. Also, excuse me, I've got like a sinus thing going on or something, so hopefully I don't do like a full Rob Nor with like this like heavy breathing into the mic, but like I apologize if you like hear me breathe or something. It's my nose is like all stuffed up and like my sinuses are like feeling heavy. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I caught like some kind of bug or something. Patrick says, ever since James Lindsay explained what praxis was, I knew I couldn't agree with Tilly on much. Tilly. Who's Tilly? Tilly. I'm not sure who Tilly is. Tilly sounds like. Yeah, I don't know who Tilly is. I'm not sure. Okay, where's this one? Settings. Tilly is the feminist from the debate. Oh, okay. Is that her name? I thought it was like, wait a minute. I feel like I should know that. But it sounded familiar. Yeah, I do want to do that too. By the way, I know I get distracted with this Erika Kirk thing, but I do want to look at this real quick. It's only a few minutes long. We're not even gonna do the whole thing, but since I mentioned it, I feel like I should kind of show you what I was talking about, because I'm like here going off about things, and when I can just do like a quick show and tell. We're not gonna get stuck on this for long or anything, but it's like Tilly. For some reason, it sounded familiar, but I was like, I don't know who that is. But yeah, now it's all making sense. I think I even like did an ad for her in the title somewhere because I had to look up like what the names of the people are, but then I like apparently immediately forgot. So I apologize. I apologize to Tilly. That is an interesting name. I wonder if it's short for something. I'm getting used to the. I decided I was gonna still use the Streamlabs desktop thing because I switched over to the new whatever, and I think I'll stick with it for at least a few more streams just to see if I can get. Oops. Oh. It's like to get a feel for it, but still a little bit like disoriented because it's a little different. Blonde Praxis, who used to be famous for debating Charlie Kirk at Oxford or Cambridge. Is she really? She's on postmortem with Stephen Woodford. You mean Matilda for Tilly? Yeah, I guess that is kind of a cool name. I feel like with names, it would be there's a lot of these, like, names that sound really old, like Matilda, you would expect, like, a grandmother to be named that, but then if it's been long enough, it's like it's something that becomes, like, out of style and old, but then after a while, it becomes so old that it's, like, cool again, kind of like with fashion. Fashion also does this thing where it, like, cycles through, like, the things we think are cool start to fade away, and then things that like were cool like 30, 40 years ago start coming back into style too. It's like everything kind of cycles like that as far as coolness. So that is interesting that, yeah, yeah, I haven't even thought about the name Matilda. Wasn't that a actress named Tilly? I don't know what a actress you're referring to. I feel like I'm completely lost with names right now. Honestly, I'm terrible with names. Even if this is really bad, but like even in social settings, when somebody introduces themselves and they could have literally like had just said their name, and they'd be like they like reach out and shake my hand and be like, "Hello, I'm so and so, blah blah blah. How are you? Blah blah." And then if they keep talking even for like another minute or so, I would have forgotten the name usually. It does. I don't know, something about like me and names. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm so very terrible with them that it's, yeah. And then after a while, like it's like, oh well, I want to like refer to them, or like I want to be like, oh well, so and so over there has the cups or whatever, and I won't be able to say their name because I don't know it. But then at that point, it's too late to ask because at that point it's kind of awkward. Like they had assumed this whole time that I've known it because they literally just told me. And then at some point, it's like too short of a time because it's like, well, I literally just told you. How can you not know it? And then at some point, it's like too long of a time at which it's become awkward. Like I had assumed you would have asked by now if you hadn't remembered, and you like hadn't asked for this long. Like it's awkward. So I don't know if there's a time in between too short and too long, but I feel like it's no matter what, it's like one or the other. Oh my goodness. Uh, yeah, I didn't know that there was an actress, Tilly Norwood. I don't know who Jennifer Tilly is either. If you're not good with names, it means you don't care to know. I hope not. I feel like I mean, I don't know. I would like to care. It's just that, like, sometimes I'm more interested in what what people are saying instead of like what somebody is called. So I guess my brain prioritizes stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, maybe it would make sense. But I hope I'm not like just being a dick for the sake of it. Like, I really try, but I get distracted and stuff. So, all right, let me play this real quick so that we can move on to the debate thing and see how long I last with that. But just real quick, because it was on my mind.
With Erika Kirk sharing her journey with America and the world, we are grateful at Fox to have her here to shine a light on healing as we all miss and mourn the loss of her beloved Charlie Kirk. And not all of her journey has been without, well, hate, conspiracies, and oddly,
Well, hate, conspiracies. I don't know why she said it. There was such like a fake pause too. Like, well, hate. I don't know what it's about that.
speculation about where her husband is buried.
Oh,
Now,
I mean, I kind of get that. I don't really care about that.
for the first time, Erika, who's with me now, addresses all of it from the perspective.
Look at her, like immediately. She's like, for some reason, this whole thing seems so fake. She looks like she was like preparing to act out this like she's got beef now or whatever. She's gonna be all like angry and defend whatever. And this whole thing, I don't know. Immediately, it just looks fake to me. I don't know why, but it does. I can't help it. It does. Is the audio bad? Is it like too quiet or is it just like off somehow? Let me see if that helps. Oh, the video. Was it like quiet or was it like how about now?
Of a grieving widow, a mom, and a battle-tested American. Good to see you
Is
again
that better?
today.
Oh no, that
Talk to
is
me
weird. I hear it
about
too.
this part of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are
It
trying to
sounds like
guess
fuzzy. Oh, that is weird.
where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing?
Yeah, I hear like that is weird because I didn't think it was me. It's like fuzzy, you know what I mean? Like it sounds fuzzy.
Can I have one thing?
Part of the
Yeah,
conspiracy.
it's like kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it's like yeah, I don't know, but it's really short, so hopefully the other video doesn't do that. Then we'll be in trouble, and I'll try to fix it or restart it or something. But Patrick says the going theory is that Candace had an interest in Charlie could explain her gleeful smearing of Erika. Maybe, but I mean Candace is married with kids now too, so I don't know. I mean, honestly, the Erika thing is off. Uh, I don't have any evidence or proof of anything, and I don't really know one way or the other, or I don't like strongly suspect. But just because somebody was married to somebody doesn't mean they're automatically like innocent or cleared of everything. Because like more often than not, if something happens to somebody, it's like the people closest to them that. I mean, how many times do husband and wife like everything seems nice, and I'm not saying this is what happened here, like I'm not trying to like directly relate, but I'm just saying as an example of it, of not like automatically dismissing, is like how many times is there like a case of like, oh well, somebody's like wife or somebody's husband, somebody's spouse gets murdered, and then they like investigate and they do all this stuff on they interview all the neighbors, and everybody says like, oh, they were such a nice perfect family, they seemed so well put together, they've never had any problems, it seemed like they were just the perfect couple. And then, obviously they go and discover that it actually wasn't so perfect, and like they just weren't showing it to the public, whatever issues there were. So again, I don't know what did or didn't happen here, but I'm just saying that like the way that people immediately assume, oh well, just because somebody's married to somebody that they must be completely innocent of anything, then I don't think that's really fair, because it's usually the spouse that does the naughty stuff. It's like when you speak into one of those echo microphones. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, because I kind of hear it too. Yeah, let me see if I'll play with the sound a little bit, but see how she's got this whole like angry act on, like I don't know. And then she's got her book that she's advertising. She's like holding it right there with the yeah. Oh, and I came prepared. I'm doing the ring thing. I didn't even realize that I was gonna be like matching Erika with the rings. I don't know. I thought they were interesting.
That are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Yeah, I think it's just like the bad video. And I don't know anything about like people guessing where he's buried or whatever. I haven't heard anything about that, and I haven't even seen like all of Candace's videos either. I've seen like clips here and there.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing? Can my children?
I don't know, it just seems so performative with this, like, and she's got like the dark black eyeliner all the time. She's like the like all the way around, like all serious, like it's, I don't know. Everything about it, this is.
Children have one thing. Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie, for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while
Okay,
my
honestly, I
daughter...
kind of get it that you don't want to disclose where he's buried. That's fine. I don't care. I don't know that people have an issue with that. Maybe they do. I don't know if there's like a conspiracy theory about that, or like if he's not, like, what is it? They think he's not dead or something. I don't know. I don't know what the deal with that is, but like, I don't know. This is also like, I feel like if this was like a movie where somebody had to like play a grieving widow, that's like somebody's like said something and she has to like go and like defend her whatever and be like, can we, like, my kids and they're grieving and like, I don't know, it just seems so like acted out. I don't know why. Kyle says, I'll admit Erika comes off very odd, but Kenneth is just completely off the rails. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really listened to a lot of what Kenneth has said. I've seen clips here and there, and like some of the clips, like, I have made good points, but I know she's got like hours of content on this, so I don't know what her deal is. Obviously, she seems like really invested, but from the little I have seen, it seems like she has like history and like messages and whatever with Charlie, which I didn't even know. I'm not like, I guess I don't really follow conservative like personalities that much because I didn't know that they even knew each other. But from what she has been saying, like the clips that I've seen, it seems like they have all this history and they were like traveling together and they were like best friends or something, which I don't know, that's crazy. I didn't watch the video of the shooting. Everyone I know who watched it said they regret it. However, from the descriptions, he was DRT. Any conspiracy theories are just that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There were weird things about it too. Like I don't know if what Candace is saying has any merit because again I haven't seen like the bulk of it. I haven't seen. But there are weird things about like the actual act itself, like what actually happened, because I have seen the videos and it's weird. There are a lot of things that are weird, very weird, and I don't know what it means. I don't know what any of it means, if any of it means anything, but there was a lot of weird stuff. But this, I don't know.
Daughter is sitting
I can only say performative so many times.
there praying. One thing, this is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am
She does a lot of like pointing and looking to the sky and stuff. It's
grateful for that. But this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We're all grieving our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me. Call me names. I don't care. Call me what you want. Go down that rabbit hole. Whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You don't have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you get the point. I guess she's portraying this righteous anger in the way that she thinks righteous anger is supposed to look. I don't know. I don't know what her deal is, but every time I see her, it looks so performative. Every single time. from the like memorial thing or whatever it was, like where it was the big stadium thing, to the speeches she did like immediately after with like the chair, and like when she went on the podcast literally the day after, like and all this is like all of those speeches and everything that happened literally like that same week, like the next day, the day after that, the day after that. I don't know. It doesn't seem genuine to me, but I don't know what that means, if it means anything. It just doesn't seem genuine, and it seems like I'm not the only one. Because if it, I mean, I don't know exactly what Candace is saying, because I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'll look into it. But if so many people are, what is she saying? Oh, this person is like making or thousands of dollars off each episode. If there wasn't anything to it, I don't know if that many people would be like watching Candace and being like thinking that there is something to what she's saying or whatever. Because like if it was just some crazy, crazy B word out there that's jealous or whatever, I don't know if so many people would be like listening to her and being like on her side of things or whatever it was. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that are like following what Candace is saying, like trying to listen in and be like, oh well, does this have any merit? Does this have any merit, like to what Candace is putting out? So whatever it is that she's saying, it seems like she's not the only one, and it seems like I'm also not the only one in thinking that the Erika stuff, like all the interviews and everything, is performative. It's I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious. But did she sell the book yet?
Like,
It's at the end of 15
seriously,
minutes in.
you will, if you want to find and pick me apart, they will. But
Yeah, she's doing the whole, oh, you can come after me, but don't come after my friends, or blah blah blah. I don't know. Everything is so like tropes.
duty to my husband, and it's an absolute honor, and I will never back down. And so my message to them is to stop. To stop.
And that's what we will say here on Outnumbered 2. God bless you. Hold up your book.
Stop in the name of God.
See, like everything, was that rehearsed? Because it fit together with the book title and everything.
Amen.
There are few.
Yeah, she had to have, like, yeah, that was, I don't know. I've seen videos of people that have like lost their spouse or whatever, and the way they talk about them or the way they talk in general, and none of them quite do that, whatever that is. All right, let me go ahead and pull up that let me pull up that debate so we can go through at least some of it, because it is kind of long. I don't have it here. Oops. So I saw this it's on last night on Destiny, and Destiny is the moderator here. So he's not actually debating. It's like between this person named Cooley from something called No Fugazi. I don't know how to say that. And Tilly, that's her name, Tilly. It's on the screen. Let me pull it up. So I guess that's where the Tilly thing was coming from. I don't know what I just did. There we go. Alright. It's bothering me how it's just like a little bit off. Little bit. I don't know if I'm making it better or worse. Alright, so I did start watching this before, and I was seeing a lot of this is basically like Cooley is I have seen like clips of him before. I haven't seen his full show or podcast or whatever he has before, but I have seen clips with him in it, and he's another, from what I gather from those clips, he is another one of those like Redpiller guys, and basically all the same talking points. It's all the same. They're all the same. So, and then throughout this debate, I know it's supposed to be like, oh, this red pill versus feminism, and it's supposed to be like a debate in patriarchy, but it sounds like he was trying to use all of like Andrew Wilson talking points and basically just repeat everything that Wilson says in his debates, and then turn this into like a rights thing, and then turn it into like this metaphysical thing, of course, like it always happens. And basically, like, I don't know if he took that freaking like debate university or whatever that Wilson has. I don't know if he took that and like saw a lot of other of like Wilson's debates and basically like wrote down all of the arguments, and it's almost like he's reading them off. It's like you'll see throughout the video. It's literally almost like he's reading off the arguments because they're so. It doesn't even sound. You'll see.
And yeah, so I'm looking forward to the debate. Is it fine if I just go
I feel like it still sounds off to me, and this is a different video. Does that sound off to you still? Let me play it for a little bit.
straight into it? I guess I can say I'm on YouTube at Blonde Praxis, and my Instagram is Tilly with loads of L's.
Start now. Is patriarchy necessary and good for society?
Or are they subjective opinions?
Maybe it's just like her audio too. Let me see.
So did women have, now it's weird because colloquially we use words that aren't like philosophically strict, but like, did women have...
Does that sound okay to you guys? Let me know. Let me know if that sounds okay, because I feel like something is still a little bit weird. I don't feel like that. In the shot here, it looks a little weird here, but is she going to sell a book? Yeah, it looks like they have a book. I think I missed that message earlier. Yeah, they have a book already out. It's the one that she was holding up at the end of that clip there. She was all like, oh yeah, I want to have a message for everybody, stop. And then I have this book, Stop in the Name of God, or whatever it was called. And it was like matching the book. And it's just like, yeah, it seemed like the whole speech was like the face and the so angry and look at my stop book, look at my book. Like it seemed like everything kind of fit together really well. And yeah, I don't know, everything seemed like really intentional. But yeah, she's selling a book now already. Like give it a year. Like give it a minute. Everything is so like rushed. Just the signals from his security around him, but if it was the case, the gunner should almost immediately after the indication should have secured. Yeah, I don't know about the hand signals or whatever. But like the what I found that was some of the weirdest is like the actual, projectile or whatever it was, and the way that it actually, like the, like uncomfortable, gory parts of it, like none of that seemed like what you would expect to happen, basically. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I'm not gonna get into like the the gross. There's videos out there that kind of cover some of the things that are weird about it, and there's plenty of that. Phantom says she never had time to process any grief that she allegedly had. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if she is like literally like in denial. I mean, it doesn't look like denial to me. She's clearly aware and has this all like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's very weird. Oh, debate university. I heard one guy do a debate and he said, I'm not good yet because I'm just getting started and I haven't gone through his debate university. I don't know. Oh no. I wonder how popular that actually is, because I know it's like what, like $250 or something like that. So I wonder how many people would actually shell out so much money for something like that. And like, luckily it is kind of pricey, because if it was a lot cheaper, I would be worried that a lot of people would be going out there and taking all that stuff and basically like we would have like more Andrew Wilson debate clones arguing in bad faith with everybody. So excuse me. So I don't think that would be fun if there were just like more and more people that were acting exactly like that. And ruined for everybody. Oh, it's the videos. Oh, okay. Hopefully the audio is better. Thank you for that feedback. Hopefully it stays okay. I know throughout this debate, it seems like in the beginning she had a lot of like connection issues and stuff like that. So we'll try to skip through the parts where it's kind of like funky back and forth. Well, I agree with many of Cooley's points in this debate. He's pretty damn. He's not a good debater. Yeah, it seemed like he was just reading Wilson's like arguments. Imagine paying and it's just clips of him and whatever. that would be so funny. But no, I mean, if you have to pay that much money, I'm imagining it's actually some kind of like what you would expect an online course to look like, because otherwise that would be terrible. I feel like jeez. I'm sorry, my imagination is not good enough to imagine paying Andrew Wilson any money. Alright, let's play this and see where this takes us. Should I move this over here? Move you over there, put you over here. Okay.
YouTube at Blonde Praxis, and my Instagram is Tilly with loads of L's. If there's self promo involved, but yeah, if I'm okay to start.
Yeah, Destiny, whenever you're ready for the timer.
Yep, I've got it running on my end. I'll tell you when there's 30 seconds left. I'll start as soon as you start talking, Tilly.
Okay. I'll start in just a second. Okay, 3, 2, 1. There are 3 reasons why Cooley's crude interpretation of pop philosophy that he calls force doctrine falls apart. Firstly, something to understand that Cooley doesn't understand is that he has to be good at arguing for socially constructed rights. But I will argue that rights exist as good features of social arrangements, and I'm going to ground this in contractarianism. I could grant Cooley the entire supposed internal critique of force doctrine, but if I can demonstrate why rights are not granted but simply exist, then there is no contradiction.
Sorry about that. I'm going over here like, oh, listen to me doing stuff, and yeah, sorry. I thought I would mute myself during the video, and then I gotta pay attention to what I'm doing. But I was just reading reading a few of your messages here, the how to be unlikable university and the how to not detract from university, and I didn't make it out in the accent too, but I was saying that like from the way that Andrew talks, it seems like for what him like marrying his wife is like him doing some kind of charity, like he like felt bad for her or something, and he's like taken on this charity case, and it's like a good thing he's doing. He's like very into asking people if it's like a good thing that he did to like take on this like single mom with all these kids. So you can attract women. It's just you're gonna have to take them on as like do them like a favor basically, because I mean that's the way he talks about it. And so it's not like they're not attracting any women whatsoever. It's just limited to certain types that are desperate enough, I suppose.
Contradiction inherent to feminism at all, and patriarchy is therefore not necessary but limiting. Why is this? Because rights aren't physical things you can point to, sure, nor are they subjective opinions or socially constructed preferences, though. They are normative facts about the rules of mutual restraint that any rational equal agent would accept. Rights are derived from the logic of cooperation, which means not from feelings or the state or whoever is the strongest. They come from what's rationally required for people who share a world to coexist without domination. That means they exist regardless of male enforcement classes or not. Male enforcement is one arm of realization of...
I think so far those are great points, and that's she's got like this concise prepared statement of basically all the stuff I've been saying, which I think is great. Let's put it at normal speed because it still seems a little bit fast. Yeah, is he typing? I wonder if he's like trying to ask ChatGPT how to respond to that or something, whatever she's saying. I'm just kidding. I doubt that, but you never know.
Rights that exist regardless of whether or not men are quote unquote benevolent for not violating them some of the time. Secondly, feminism begins with the enforcement of the social contract by extending the right to be protected from arbitrary domination interpersonally to women as well as men. But it extends beyond this to erode negative cultural norms as well. Those norms are matters of social preference, not objective rights, and their transformation does not depend on male enforcement. Because actually, male enforcement is the weakest apparatus for enforcing feminist progress. Just like I can't put a gun to anyone's head to make them believe in God, nor can you throw a man in jail to make him view women as human people deserving of social protection from arbitrary force. Thirdly,
that's fair. And there's also so many different definitions of I'm sure he's making notes or ordering DoorDash. There's already oops, I broke it. Why do I always do that? Oh my goodness. Sorry. I clicked on my mouse. Sort of. Sometimes Mac has these features that I find completely useless, but like I accidentally trigger, and I find them annoying. I should probably disable that because I never use that. The like tap to zoom thing. I never use that. The only time that I ever turn that on is by accident. Anyway, yeah. I mean, the only thing is like she's supposed to be a feminist, and I'm like kind of undecided about how I feel about feminism in general, because I feel like there's so many definitions of it, and everybody seems to have a different idea of what it actually is. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm like indifferent, don't have a strong opinion on it, or like I don't know. Feminism in general is something that is kind of confusing to me, and I can't really identify as something I don't really think I understand. And I like a lot of people that I do see that like personally identify as feminist, I don't like. So I tend to not want to associate myself with the same kind of group of people if I don't really like what they have to say besides that. So I don't know. Why are Streamlabs messages showing up on your screen but not in chat? Do you have top chat enabled or live chat? Because try live chat. They are showing on my screen but not in chat. Like nothing in chat, or just like some of them? Because I see like from Streamlabs, or the first one is the only one that showed up. I'm not sure what you're looking at because my chat looks really small. Oh, okay, I see that one. I see it twice for some reason. That is weird. I wonder if there's some kind of bug with the chat thing. Oh no, maybe it's... You know what? I'm not sure. That is weird. Not in chat. Oh, I wonder if do you mean like the duplicate? Because I wonder if it was just like an error in the like screen chat program thing that somehow made it show up twice. Because I see only one of them as well, and there really shouldn't be two like in a row like that. All right.
Even if I grant that male physical prowess matters here whatsoever to justify patriarchy, it just demonstrates that Cooley too is in danger from men stronger than him. Civilization requires that we collectively opt into a contract to choose to respect each other's property rights even when we could defile them, that we choose not to take another's life even if we could take it. Therefore, if Cooley tries to express that men kindly grant women rights by not interpersonally violating them, and that therefore patriarchy is a necessary good, then he also has to concede that Chris Bumstead and Mike Tyson kindly grant him his rights by not interpersonally violating him. This is why force doctrine...
Yeah, another great point. And I like hearing somebody else say like kind of a lot of the same points that I brought up before in my like the long like series of episodes I did. Like this is like concise and put together, but yeah, I've brought up similar points before, like with the like why is it like all men in general and not just like the strongest men? It would be like the soldiers and stuff that would be the ones granting rights then, right? Not because there are weaker men and stronger men too, so why is it like, yeah, the gender thing is so arbitrary. So yeah, great points here, but yeah, that's because they're obvious points. Yeah, of course. But for some reason people still don't like think of them or don't think they're valid or something because it's still men. But like, so what? Yeah, I don't understand how anybody can still like have heard all the arguments against it and still think that force doctrine somehow has like the upper hand, logically speaking. But that is where, do you not see any Streamlabs? Because I'm seeing the Streamlabs in the chat. I wonder if you have it like muted accidentally or something, or ignored. But I'm seeing like from Streamlabs with the, I see like a little wrench and like it's in blue with the name, and then I see like the links and the everything is dropping every now and again. So yeah, maybe you blocked them on your end, because I am seeing them in the regular chat, like in the regular live chat. So I wonder if it's just you, because I don't know why it would be just me. All right.
is a rapist's mentality. It is why men...
Sorry, YouTube. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know about like words like that when they're used like not in a violent like negative way, when they're used to literally just discuss something. I don't know how YouTube really takes that. It seems kind of arbitrary when they do and don't care about things like that. So I see a lot of people using words like grape and things like that, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but I mean I do it too just because I see everybody else doing it. So I'm like, maybe YouTube is like not letting people say those words, but then I see other channels that say all the words, and those videos are obviously still up and doing fine, and their channels are fine. So I don't know where the line lies about like using words like that people usually convert to grapes. Because the Mike Tyson point is a strong and terrible point that force doctrine extends beyond mere revengers. I mean, it was a bit of like an exaggeration, but the point isn't like that it's literally that individual, but it's people like that are physically stronger Because why is it just men then? Like the gender thing is arbitrary. Anyway, we'll get
feel emasculated when I put force doctrine to them in these terms, because suddenly they can start grounding rights somewhere. They can start producing inherent rights from thin air. So I can explain my position as to why patriarchy is a bad thing for women. But I think that first I can just define a couple of terms since I have about a minute left. So I can define feminism as the extension of the social contract to include women as full contracting agents, eliminating interpersonal arbitrary domination and ensuring like a cooperative equality. A state, therefore, is an institutional system with a monopoly on legitimate force. I think.
I do wonder what kind of is that, like a South African accent or something? What kind of accent is that? Because I know somebody in the chat brought it up too, that it was Kyle said she's got a contracted accent. I do wonder where that's from.
This is quite intuitive. And crucially, therefore, the state is not inherently male or patriarchal. It is a practical enforcement mechanism for rights-based cooperation, which includes lawyers, a police force, politicians, bureaucrats, and others. So all that force doctrine essentially proves is that society exists. Hence, I can show why patriarchy is bad principally once we grant all of this. Like, we can do practical arguments too, but I would really want to get this principle out of the way first, because I would say that patriarchy is bad primarily because it blurs interpersonal private force with public force, because it rejects the core principles that create good civilization, i.e. the restraint of private force. I can end the opener here.
Okay, 30 seconds left, but we can.
I guess they'll elaborate on that, because I'm interested to hear like what exactly she means by that.
And end it there. Fuguzi, I got 4 minutes on the clock whenever you're ready to go.
Oh, is that how you say it? Fuguzi? That is a weird name. But I have heard more people call him Cooley, like it is like the name in red. But I thought the Fuguzi thing was just the name of the podcast, not like what people call him.
Okay, sounds good. I'll start now. Is patriarchy necessary and good for society? I take the affirmative position, and it's ironic because my opponent takes the non-affirmative position, and she's a proud, self-proclaimed feminist, but isn't aware that feminism appeals to patriarchal systems to enforce the mental constructs, also known as rights, that she has in her mind. A patriarchy is necessary because it's inevitable if you want a society, and a society is an aggregate of people in an ordered community. Well, how do you create order, one might ask? It's by enforcement of rules, laws, and rights, and men have the monopoly of force to enforce said laws and rights. A society without order is chaos, so women would have to appeal to a collection of men.
I think I've already like anytime that we've discussed or anytime we've done like a reaction with like when they bring up rights, I think we've already discussed how it's physical force is not like the end and be all of enforcement. I know it's like in the name, but enforcement is generally like a monetary fine or something like that. There's a lot of other ways of getting people to behave other than physical force. Like, in fact, physical force is like a small percentage of the total ways of the total other ways that we get people to respect other people's rights. So I've covered all that before, so I feel like a little bit repetitive. By the way, I did end up filming all of my points for the I don't know if any of you guys remember, but I was talking about doing like a force doctrine like single video thing, and I was showing you like the little web thing I had when I basically typed out all of my points and everything in a web. Well, I ended up filming that, but I haven't like edited it together yet, and it just seems so daunting that I haven't been able to do it yet. I've been really busy with work and stuff, but I did take time off work, so I think I have like 2 more days of 2 more days of work next week, and then I'll be done for the rest of the year, so I'll have plenty of time to work on it, which is gonna be great.
To enforce their rights, but men aren't afforded the same privilege of having women to enforce their rights, which is why feminism and other egalitarian systems like socialism.
I'll let them get through this opening because I know they're going to get into the back and forth of it, and we can get into it more, but like obviously I disagree with all that.
which I think my opponent may make some prescriptions for if she concedes to force doctrine. But feminism and socialism both push for equality, which is just a lie, because only a collection of majority men can do the enforcement of the rules, laws, and rights, which creates order, and collectively women can't do the same for men or for themselves. So it's never equal. Now, let me make this clear.
Again, I should just let him get through it, but there is no good reason to say that men collectively and women collectively are like versus each other, like opposing each other like that, like in society or in some sort of like gender war. There is no like male collective versus female collective. That's not how people work. People partner up with the opposite gender. We don't get into a collective, like into like a sausage fest. That's not what people want. Generally, people want to work together with somebody who's their opposite gender-wise. So this whole like collective of men, collective of women thing, just even to begin with, this whole theory falls apart just right there, because it like, what are you talking about? That's not a thing. That is not any sort of thing. That is not how people behave. That is not how the world works. That we're not like gendered collectives. That's not what this is.
I don't believe that might makes right.
Oh, look at him. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. I just believe that might makes. Watch she's gonna do it.
Force doctrine is a prescription. Isn't a prescription. It's a
I wonder if that was like a Freudian slip or something, where he's like really knows that, okay, he is trying to prescribe stuff, but he's got to act like he's not.
description. But I think I can demonstrate how my opponent is the one that actually believes that might makes right. I'll concede the rest of my time for my opening by asking Tilly this one question.
Oh, no, he didn't say it. I thought he would say it. Oh, I don't believe might makes right. I just believe that might makes. But he went with the like, oh, it's not a prescription thing. Or wait, it is a prescription, but it's not a prescription. Never mind. It's not a prescription.
Do you believe that morality is subjective?
Oh my God. And here's the other thing. So it seems like there are these trends in how the same group of like crucible aligned people debate. And it seems like they have sort of the same kind of trending points, because they seem to ask the exact same questions with everybody that they debate. Like, it's like Andrew will start some kind of trend and they all copy it. They all ask the exact same question. They all push the exact same points. And now the trendy thing to do is to say that, oh, well, your thing is subjective and therefore what? Doesn't mean shit. And, oh, well, my thing is objective because God. Okay, bro.
Okay, 2 minutes left.
And like asking people to like, oh, well, we ground this and ground that, and oh well, so it's just your preference then, and all of that. Yeah, that's there's gonna be a lot of that.
But we're
Yep, I concede all my time. I got lots of minutes left. I'll concede that to ask her this one question. Do you believe that morality is subjective?
No, I believe that there are certain rights that we ground in social contractarianism, which is outside of and or mind independent. So for example, as I outlined in my opening speech, feminists do a couple of things. The first thing they might do is enforce objective rights that are basically mind independent logical phenomena that any rational agent would agree helps people live and coexist in society without dominating one another. So that's an objective thing, for example, the right to life. What I would say is subjective, i.e. like preference-based.
The one thing that every single time somebody brings up right to life, the one thing that they were like, oh, well, so abortion then? How about abortion? Oh, man. Kyle says, it's okay. Well, I mean, you're still spelling it, so I don't know how to say the A with the little hat. I'm sorry. It's still spelled like that's still words. For like it's fugazi. Fugazi. Fug. Okay, now I'm starting to feel like I'm gonna say slurs or something on accident. I agree with the forced doctrine. I don't copy all of Andrew's arguments word for word, says Kyle. And that is your right to do. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that people really buy it, but not really. I mean, there's a lot of things that people can be convinced of if somebody just says something confidently enough. And a lot of it is just like asking the opponents like to ground this and ground that, but like nobody can really, like, if it's like a child asking why, like, oh well, why is this, and then you answer, but they're like, well, why is that, and eventually you don't know, because eventually you get in a chain of whys, or in a chain of, ground this, kind of the same thing, you eventually get to, well, I don't know, because that's how things are, and that's what they take advantage of. They keep asking you, like a child keeps asking why, and eventually you don't have an answer at some point, because they keep like following it down the rabbit hole, and eventually you're just like, and that's what they take advantage of. They take advantage of you not being able to ground like literally every single thing all the way down, and like eventually you're just like, well, yeah, it's because it's my preference, and it's because it's other people's preference, and I want to convince you that this should also be your preference, so this is what we're here to do. Like, convince each other to share preferences. And saying that, like, oh well, if you believe in God, that's somehow objective, that's complete BS, because you're also, especially him, like, he recently decided, like, within a few years, to do this whole like Eastern Orthodox thing. He saw the values that he already had, that existed in this religion, and he was like, okay, these values align with my values, I'm gonna do this thing. And literally it was his preference to follow this religion particularly, and the teachings of this religion. So it's anybody's preference to do what it is they're doing. It's literally, if it wasn't your preference, you wouldn't be doing it. It's, if you take it all the way down to that very base level, everybody has a preference to do whatever it is that they're doing, and at some all the way down very, very base level, it's simply because they prefer it. But that doesn't make it invalid, it doesn't make it wrong, it doesn't make it like, oh well, because you can't like ground it in God or whatever, that makes it somehow lesser than. Because, like, what does it even mean to ground something in God? First, you have to prove God exists. Second, you have to prove that what it is that you are doing, God actually wants you to be doing. And you don't know God. Like, I don't know. The whole thing is like, oh, so it's just your preference then? Can you do this whole like thing about, is it subjective or is it objective? Like, that's like the trendy thing to argue now, and this is what they're all doing. Phantom says, I just say F-dog. Kyle says, interestingly, I used to heavily disagree with the force doctrine until I understood what it actually is. Okay. I do hope that you watch the video when I finally finish editing it, because I'd be interested in hearing your feedback, Kyle, specifically, because I know I think it's really cool that you still hang around, even though I obviously very much disagree with that. And yeah, I do hope to hear your feedback on the video once I make it. But Phantom says, if it were more general and not tied to, if it said the powerless rely on the powerful to grant them rights, I would agree with saying man equals powerful and woman equals powerless ignores real world power dynamics. And God says, that's why I mostly talk about legal rights rather than intrinsic rights. Yeah, and that's another thing, is like, anytime that, like, either Wilson or anyone, like, I'm sure Cooley is part of this whole thing now too, because he uses all the exact same arguments, like the Crucible adjacent debaters. Anytime that they talk rights, they're usually opposed to like putting them up into legal rights versus like human rights, they just kind of like, oh, well, it's all rights, is all kind of like the same thing to them, and they put it all in the same pile. And I think that's kind of awfully convenient too, because they are different things technically, or it's like one is supposed to kind of like support the other, or like, yeah, anyway. Well, we'll get to it another time.
Are fighting against certain cultural norms that feminists view as negative, and that doesn't require an enforcement class.
Okay, well, if you say that you don't believe in subjective morality, what you're doing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that you believe in objective morality, and it's objective because it's mind independent, but you just said that you rely on logic to create some type of right where it's objective. That really doesn't make any sense. So I'll just ask you a question. If it's the case that you think that you have this right in your mind, right? Like you gave the Mike Tyson example. For example, right? If I'm around Mike Tyson, if I walk around Mike Tyson and in his prime, I think that I can defeat him now, but in his prime, just being honest here, in his prime, if I walked around Mike Tyson, and he was like, Cooley, I don't want you speaking, no more talking. Well, we would have to tussle, right? And it's a high probability that Mike Tyson is going to whoop me real bad. And basically, Mike Tyson would hold, I don't have any right to speak. I can speak, or I can suffer the consequences of being.
So it's a permission then. Because if you have if there's a concept of a right to speak, and somebody is literally like assaulting you because you're trying to exercise your right, then they're like violating that right that you have. They're not, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's ridiculous. Just because somebody like takes something away from you or like beats you for doing something, it doesn't mean that thing doesn't exist. It just means that they're like violating it, or it's like being forced away from you in some way. It's that doesn't prove anything. So I don't know what that's supposed to prove there. Kind of says, yeah, I think the only intrinsic right granted by reality is the right to mental states. Yeah, I guess it's just like to have thoughts, I guess. Yeah, I could kind of see that. Kaz says, and yeah, I'll check out your first Action Critic video when it comes out. How long is it? I'm not sure exactly how long it's gonna be yet, because I literally just I guess I'm about halfway, well, maybe a third of the way through editing it, so it will probably be maybe like 45 minutes to an hour long, something like that. I'll try to shorten it down if I can, but Patrick says, the problem is if you don't ground morality in God, then it's necessarily subject to change and incoherent and ground rights in God, so you can't argue for human value without also arguing for rights. Yeah, I mean, just because something is subject to change doesn't mean it's invalid. And just because you ground something in God doesn't mean it's not subject to change. There are a lot of things that, like, for instance, even Eastern Orthodox religions, there were a lot of things that they were like, oh, well, this is the right thing to do. Like the church has come down and said, well, this is acceptable, this isn't acceptable. And then they changed their mind. And over time, it became acceptable. And over time, it became not acceptable. So even church teachings change over time. So just saying that you somehow like know... oh, I don't have to show a video. Okay, good, cool. Yeah, but I don't know how like long people's attention spans are, but yeah, I'll keep that in mind. So with the God thing, it's like you don't know God, and people's interpretation of what God supposedly wants or is saying or means or whatever does change over time. So I don't know how God is supposed to be like unchanging while everything else is changing. So yeah, that kind of goes with the whole, like, it's not objective either, so. Anyway.
Being punched in the mouth by Mike Tyson.
Yeah, this debate is like, what, like, more than 2 hours long? I don't think we're getting this whole thing today. Really, 10 minutes.
So I don't really have this right to speak without experiencing any consequences. And I think for myself as an individual, because I'm not a beta, I would continue to speak and just take the butt whooping. But
Because I'm not a beta. Oh my goodness.
most men would probably just concede and never speak. They'll give up all their
He's not a beta fish.
rights, never speak, and just concede
He's an alpha fish.
to Mike Tyson. So with that being said, how you're trying
He's a big fish. Sorry.
to like map morality and say that if you're not mapping morality can only be mind independent if it's mapping onto divine command like a god. But if you're just mapping it on to logic and reason and stuff like that, well, it's good for people to to have life. Well, some people don't think that. And also, if you kill my family, well,
Hang on a second. I thought I heard something outside. It's freaking me out. Watch me like go investigate it and I'll get like murdered or something. I thought I heard noises. Okay. Maybe it's just me.
it's a high probability that I'm going after your family. So you're not really like mapping this onto anything. You're just like saying words, but it doesn't really hold any weight. How do you ground morality? Please explain.
Right, I'll ask you a really simple question then, which is 2 + 2 4, whether or not you are on Mars or on Earth? Like, let's say every human being disappears from society. Is 2 + 2 still 4?
That is true.
Right. So that's where I ground rights. Do you see how, like,
okay, so that is math. Okay, got it. What you just did was, so what you're doing is you're using a transcendental argument to say that, well, I mapping rights onto transcendental categories. Transcendental categories is logic, like logic and reason, things that we can't objectively prove, right? We can't objectively prove these things, but we still live everyday life. Real quick, we live I already answered your question. We live every day. What you're doing is you're using a transcendental category to prove rights, but you're not demonstrating it properly. Because it can't be demonstrated. So my question is,
well, she was about to explain it before you cut her off and said she couldn't.
How do you ground your morality if it's objective? Where is it grounded in? It's not grounded in logic.
Wait, can I real quick? Can I ask a question for both sides, and then your question can still stand up? Maybe this will, I'm just curious. Can both of you tell me what you believe a right is? Like, give me a definition of what you think a right is or what rights are.
Yeah, I'll go first. So a right is.
Cooley, I can go ahead first.
You're cutting out. I'll go first. Tilly, you're having some issues. It's cutting out. But
yeah, I think this is maybe where she started lagging a lot, which is not great. But I think they fixed it later at some point.
Yeah. So a right is just a construction.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
You think it's lagging a little bit? If you have like a Wi-Fi that you can connect to instead of instead of a cell phone connection or something, that might help.
I'm gonna hotspot to my phone.
Or that.
Sorry, I'm gonna.
All right. You hear me?
Right.
He booted her out. She didn't even try to attempt to come. Appreciate you, man. All right.
Okay. I would say that rights are the minimal set of claims that each rational agent has to be able to make over themselves and over the world in order for a social contract to be possible, i.e. society.
Okay, got it. And who would enforce those rights?
I think that... I mean, what are you getting at when you ask that question?
I'm asking that question.
Oh, you know what? I figured out what that sound is. I just got this, the hard drive that's actually not like a flash drive, but like a solid, like a hard, like the old school like hard drives that's inside the external drive, like one of those like Western digital book things, and to do backups on, because that my other backup things are failing. And yeah, and that's I recently started copying like the entire contents of another drive onto it, and I think that's what's making the sound. And like with the headphones on, I kind of sound like something that was like outside the window or something, but it's right next to it and it's making these odd sounds I'm not used to. So I think that's what that is. And it's also doing like a little bit of like a vibration here and there, like, so I kind of feel it too. So it always seems like somebody's like knocking gently or something, or creeping. So I don't think I'm gonna get murdered, which is great news. I think we've figured out what the thing is. So Although I have been watching a lot of scary movies lately, so it's exactly when people say something like that and they're relieved, that's exactly when they get when they get got. So you never know. As a Protestant, I agree that the church cannot monkey with what's right or wrong. That's true. Most philosophers are moral realists and atheists. I think Cooley has debating potential, but I can't stand how condescending he can be. I could kind of see that. I mean, it's only just started, and I can see that already too, the condescension thing. I doubt these philosophers have any coherent case to assign prescriptive value to matter from a non-personal prescriptor. They may assign prescriptive value to matter from a non-personal prescriptor. Lots of P words there. They may hold the option, but that's in spite of their justification. Another case to assign prescriptive value to matter. Like matter as in like physical matter. Is that what you mean by that? From a non-personal prescriptor. Hold the opinion. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. When notes me, morality is pretty clearly anti-real, so I find their arguments too trivial to actually retain. Interesting. All right.
Question. So you define rights as, repeat it again, actually, because it's so ambiguous. It's like it's hard, or maybe I'm just slow. Repeat it again. You're in, what is it, Cambridge University? Yeah. All right, fair enough. I just have a high school education.
Maybe she is just English. For some reason, I thought she had like a weird, like South African, like non-British accent, but it looks like it's just British.
Repeat it again for me.
So I say that rights are the, hold on, I wrote the definition down myself. It's essentially the minimal set of claims that each rational agent has to be able to make over themselves and over the world in order for a social contract to be possible, i.e. mutually agreeing and binding themselves to a contract to enter society.
Okay, got it. So then rights is a construction of the mind.
No, because rights are a set of constraints that any rational agent would agree to put on themselves when they choose to enter society. Just like how maths, there's like obviously the debate about whether or not.
Yeah, but it's subjective. We give ourselves these rights, is what you're saying.
No, that's not what I say. I say that rights are to do with the extent to which we follow any kind of reason, rationality insofar as it would require us to enter society. So it's like, for example, mathematical theorems or like Nash's equilibrium. These types of things are just like basic fundamentals about the world that sure we use to discover it through our mind, but they're not invented.
Okay, so it's not invented, but we can choose to discover it through our mind. But that's right. So once again, can you touch a right?
No.
What does that have to do with anything? This is the same exact line of questioning that Wilson does, that all of the Wilson clones do, literally the same exact questions.
Okay, so you cannot touch a right, but you have rights. And if you can't touch it, it's not in the physical world, then it would only be in the mind, right?
Well, you also have maths.
Say that again?
You also have maths.
I can't understand you. Did you say math?
Oh yeah, British people say maths with like an S. Math versus maths. Yeah, I find that weird.
Maths.
Math.
Oh, math. Okay, I'm sorry. It's the... okay, I see what you're saying. So we also have math. That is true. The funny thing is, math we can map on to reality.
Mm-hmm. I think that's her point, is that you can map rights onto reality, that they mean something in reality. Just because you can't touch something, like what? The argument is so stupid.
Why can't we do that with the only way to map how you define rights? How can we do that if it's not by force?
What do you mean?
So math, I can see one thing, I can see two of the same things, and I can see one thing and see another thing and say that's one, put it together, that's two. I can think of that, but I can also map it onto reality. I can touch it. It's also physical as well. With rights, how does it become physical in reality?
Because maths are norms of thought and rights are norms of action. So like I'm saying that maths and rights are a similar category of thing, which is like structures that anyone rational would presuppose. Like rights are structures that underlie coherent actions, and therefore you can ground them in, for example, a social contract. Just because I can't touch something doesn't mean that it's like inherently subjective.
Okay, so you can ground the right, but my question for you is, you're saying something, but you're not really demonstrating it. How can you
What do you mean?
Ground the right, something that you construct in your mind. So for example, if I say that, me as an individual, well, I have, just like the Mike Tyson example, we can use many different examples, right? Me as an individual, I go to Afghanistan, right? And I say that, well, I have the right to do this. They're gonna be like, I can think and say it out loud, but if they take the right from me, I don't actually have the right. So what I'm saying is, all of these things, you don't have it. All of these things need to be.
You don't possess it because it's not being realized, but you still have the right.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. You can.
Your right would be violated if we were talking about like human rights there. Now, if we're talking about legal rights, that's a different thing, obviously. And summary of humans are only matter, emotion, and values and material within human values, impossible or an illusion, because it is short for mathematics. That's a good point. Mathematics is technically plural because we have physics. We don't say physic, we say physics. So, okay, technically the British and the rest of the world has it right when they say maths, but it sounds weird and I don't like it, so they should stop that. I'm just kidding. If rights are enforced constructs regardless of metaethics, why bring up moral relativism? Yeah, I mean, it's this whole thing like, oh, grounded. Well, ground this, well, now ground that, and now it's like this like hole all the way down that I was talking about before, or like all the way up, or whatever, in a single direction all the way through, that to eventually get them to be like, oh, well, it's, I don't know. Yes, English is objectively the correct form of English. Well, if you agree, then of course it is objectively.
Think that women have the right to vote, right? You can think that, but prior to the 19th Amendment, women did not have the right to vote. So it can be women prior to the 19th Amendment. They could actually think that they had the right to vote, but did they actually have the right to vote?
Wait,
they only
quick,
had it after the 19th Amendment.
Let me try to clear this up so we don't get stuck on this, okay? Okay, also, I don't do formal philosophy, so I'm going to okay. So I think the argument is, her argument is that insofar as any social contract can possibly exist, any rational mind would conceive of or construct rights to make said social contract work. Much the same that for anybody to do math, every reasonable rational mind would agree that 1 + 1 = 2. So in a world where women can't vote, the statement that I imagine she would say, it wouldn't be that like, women didn't have the right. She would say that women didn't have a social contract. So like, the
I get how she's explaining it, but my question is, which she still didn't answer.
I don't think he gets how she's explaining it. I know he's saying that, but I don't think he understands, even though Destiny just re-explained it. Because she has described this thing a few times now, and she's like repeated her initial definition a few times as well. And I don't think he's actually getting it.
How can it be enforced?
Okay.
How are you going to enforce the thing?
What does that have to do with anything? There are a lot of things that are enforced by a source other than like what is creating the thing. Just because somebody enforces something doesn't mean they are the source or the grantor of said thing. It doesn't prove or mean anything. That's neither here nor there. So
thing that you have in your mind. That's my question.
Right. So here's what I'll do. I'll tackle the internal critique. So what I would say is that even if men historically hold certain positions, the internal critique doesn't hold, because saying like the weaker group appealing to the stronger group to enforce rights that exist absent them mind independently. That is how all rights movements work. So this would be like saying like, okay, workers appealing to their bosses for a weekend demonstrates that workers' rights movements fall in on themselves. Or like slaves appealing to enslavers for freedom proves something about the nature of the races themselves and why one should subordinate themselves to the other.
That's another one that I think I've brought up in my like series that I've done before, is the race thing, and especially like slavery, because it used to be that Black people were enslaved by white people, like at least here in America and through a lot of other parts of the world as well. So is it the case then that it's not men that are like granting rights, but it's actually white men that grant rights? Because like, look at this whole period of time where like it was the white men that had power over Black people, and Black people didn't have rights, legal rights. in this country. I want to specify from now on because I don't want to get confused. They didn't have legal rights like they do now. So, and then eventually what's the idea here is that white men, they were just so benevolent. That's the message there to what Wilson says, what this guy agrees with, that men are just so benevolent that they decided to nicely, kindly just give rights to the Black people because they weren't benevolent before. That all of that time before, all of those years of slavery, they weren't benevolent then. But then they decided, okay, we're going to be benevolent now, and we're going to give all these people rights. So in a way, legal rights, sure, they didn't have legal rights, and society gave them legal rights, but their human rights were violated. Like, they were literally enslaved. That would be a violation of human rights. Okay, I'll save it for the video or whatever, but Cooley did a terrible job defending the forced doctrine. I think most defenders of the forced doctrine are on Cooley do. Maybe it's just hard to defend because it's not a great idea. I know you disagree, but you know, maybe there's something to the fact that it's just not a good thing to defend because it doesn't really make sense. It's in U.S. law, America. Legal rights. Men are powerful. Therefore, forced doctrine is true. That's basically the message, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to every time.
Once again, how can women collectively enforce their own rights? Yes or no?
No one can collectively enforce their own rights.
But that's not true. Because men can. Men can collectively enforce rights.
Well, I think that, like, men restrain themselves against weak men and a bunch of women. Like, women restrain themselves against weaker women. Like, in certain cases, there are physically weaker groups that have managed to enslave much stronger groups. For example, things like the feudal system. You have, like, the strength in numbers of the workers that have ultimately been overpowered by strategic and institutionalized norms that oppress those at the bottom. Like, Elon Musk and billionaires can't collectively enforce their own rights against Jason Momoa, right? Like, there are a bunch of people who can't necessarily collectively enforce their own rights, but that doesn't really uphold anything important about whether or not they should have them and how they should be realized.
Okay, so the argument, I don't think, maybe let me repeat the argument of forced doctrine, because I truly don't actually think that you understand. The argument of forced doctrine is very, very simple.
I think she gets it. I mean, her whole opening was pretty spot on about she's heard it all before, dude. So, like, I don't really think you understand. What a dick.
Simple. It's that men have the monopoly on enforcing the constructs that we have in our minds. Your definition of rights was basically a construct in the mind. That's all it was. That's all it is. That's all it is, Tilly. It's only in the mind. It's only in the mind, Tilly.
Like, this is the whole, he's doing the thing where, oh, it's only in the mind, therefore, what, it doesn't mean anything. He's, like, waving it away because it's only in the mind, therefore, it's, what, meaningless? And then using her name, too, like that, that's the exact thing that Wilson does. He's always, like, saying the other person's name excessively. Like, it's, like, something, other person's name, something, other person's name, and he repeats it so often. I wonder if he's going to do the same thing here, too.
It's only in the mind, right? You didn't demonstrate how it is not in the mind. You went to math, but math is much differently. But it was a poor analogy for rights. It was very, very poor, because with math, we can actually observe these things.
Yeah, we can actually observe the effect of rights on society. We can actually observe or whatever he was doing there. Like, okay.
Right? And listen, right? No, you can't. You can only observe rights if it is enforced. How can you observe a construct in the mind if it isn't enforced? We can observe math because we can say 1 + 1 = 2. We can have one of these and say, you put them together, that's two things. We can fully demonstrate it in reality. You can't do this with rights without using enforcement. And guess what, Tilly? Men have the monopoly on enforcement. So here's the argument. It's very, very simple for forced doctrine, right? So the patriarchy, the argument is very simple. The patriarchy has the monopoly on enforcing rights. There's not a matriarchy that can enforce their rights without men coming over and taking their rights. You understand that? So since the patriarchy enforces rights, my question to you is basically, you're saying that, well, the patriarchy is bad. Well, it can't be bad because that's the only system that you can appeal to enforce the rights of feminism. Guess what? Feminism, you're a feminist. You're only a feminist because men allowed you to be a feminist.
Well, that's very kind of them.
Because men enforce your rights.
You ground a right by identifying a condition that is necessary for human agency. You show that denying it is self-contradictory.
I won't repeat myself. I've harped on this so many times already. I'll save it.
And then you go about universalizing it through a social contract. That produces an enforceable claim. So therefore, I'll concede to the fact that there is oftentimes a male enforcement class in society, okay? But that doesn't necessarily prove that men grant me my rights, because I say that I ground rights, not in the fact that it's constructed by my mind and it's all a bit made up and that men can rape me if they want to. I ground a right by identifying a condition that's necessary for agency. I ground a right in logic and reason.
Okay.
Can we real quick, let me, hold on, because it sounds like there might not be as much of a disagreement here, maybe. It sounds like there's two different conversations happening. One is the conversation over what a right is, and the other is a conversation about who enforces rights. So Tilly, I think, is having the conversation of like, how do we define a right insofar as, like for math, like how do we define sets of numbers that have some internally consistent rule scheme or whatever? And it sounds like what Fugazi is talking about is, well, okay, once you've defined said rights, how do you enforce those rights? And I think force doctrine sounds...
No, I mean... Yes, what Destiny's saying is reasonable, but I don't think that's what Cooley there is trying to do. I think what Cooley's trying to do is he's trying to conflate enforcement with the granting. He's trying to say, which is another like core component of force doctrine, is to conflate enforcement as being the same thing as granting. So no, he's not trying to say once you've defined rights, who enforces them. He's saying that rights are defined by who enforces them, which obviously makes no sense, but that's what he's saying.
It's like an idea or a concept of where does the enforcement of...
There are few...
Oops. Sorry, I broke it. I don't know how I did that, but... Oh no. I broke it.
How do we define a right insofar as, like for math, like how do we define sets of numbers that have some internally consistent rule scheme or whatever? And it sounds like what Fugazi is talking about is, well, okay, once you've defined said rights, how do you enforce those rights? And I think force doctrine sounds like an idea or a concept of where does the enforcement of rights come from rather than where do rights come from? And I think you're having two different conversations there. So I guess the question would be for both of you, if you can't enforce a right, do you have the right? So did women have... Now, it's weird because colloquially we use words that aren't like philosophically straight, but like, did women have the right to have a vote before they were granted the right to vote illegally? Did slaves have a right to citizenship before they were granted a...
I think what Destiny's trying to say there is, did these people have a human right that was being violated before the human rights were enshrined into law as a legal right? I think that's kind of where he's going with that.
Right to citizenship, or do these rights only exist insofar...
Patrick says, I reject force doctrine because we can't grant or create rights for others or ourselves. Which is reasonable. I think that the religious argument for rights is like if you start with religion is valid, then yes, from that you can very obviously take it to yes, people have inherent rights. So I'm so sorry. I don't know why I keep doing that. I think
right.
This mouse is just really sensitive, and I accidentally like swept it a little bit twice, and it like decided to do its thing. I'm so sorry. I need to be more careful with this. I'll try to be more careful.
Have the right. So did women have... Now, it's weird because colloquially we use words that aren't like philosophically straight, but like, did women have the right to have a vote before they were granted the right to vote illegally? Did slaves have a right to citizenship before they were granted a right to citizenship? Or do these rights only exist insofar as somebody else is able to enforce them? Like, yeah, is I think the question for both of you. Okay. So if you can, Tilly, if it's possible, turn your mic up if you can at all, because it's pretty quiet, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me just demonstrate real fast how she's defining rights is actually the same way I'm defining rights. And the reason being is because it's mind dependent. It is not mind independent. So you're always appealing to the mind. Once again, my definition is...
You're appealing to the mind? Wait, I thought we were appealing to men. What is he talking about? Oh, okay, maybe we're appealing to the minds of men, because, I mean, this seems like a different concept that he's saying. That, like, he's saying we're appealing to the mind in general, but then he's also saying, wait, you're appealing to men, and then he's saying you're appealing to the patriarchy, which is arguably different from men in general. So what is it that we're appealing to? We're constantly appealing to something, and it seems to be changing, like, basically every other sentence, it seems. Well, are we going to review unsolicited advice today too? No, unfortunately. Unfortunately not. My mouse is just doing a thing, but well, it's pretty simple. Man equals mind. Woman does not equal mind. I mean, yeah, I mean, women, mind, obviously those things don't go together. Like having a mind, thoughts, the reason, women, I mean, you see what I mean? Obviously it doesn't fit. So, of course, it has to be men. That's the only thing left. Only men can be Russian. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
Rights is a construct of the mind, right? So individual people can believe that they have these rights. It's a construct in their mind. But it's very simple. How can you enforce it? It can only be enforced by patriarchal systems, male-dominated, not societies, but male-dominated as far as enforcement, like military, police force, and stuff like that. You need someone to enforce these rights. So I'm sorry, Destiny. What exactly was your question then?
Yeah, I think.
Again, enforcement and like granting of something or the source of something or like the origin of something is not the same thing. I've repeated that so many times already, but even if it was like it had to do with anything, it's not that only men can enforce rights. Most rights are enforced through bureaucracy, through basically people not wanting to shake things up. And it's only a very small percentage of the population that needs physical force applied in order for them to even the fear of physical force applied to them in order for them to be like, oh, well, I should respect other people's rights or whatever. Because for most people, simply the fear of being like fined or whatever is enough. The fear of not being able to do contracts with them, or their like wages garnished from whatever, etc. There's lots of different ways that have nothing to do with violence whatsoever or fear of violence whatsoever that people use to enforce laws in society. And enforcing rights is like one of the laws that can be enforced. So, and even Wilson himself has said often on like a different topic, of course, because he wouldn't put the two together, but he has said many times that he promotes the idea of having propaganda, how effective propaganda is at basically making sure that people behave a certain way. And what is it that like respecting rights is? It's making sure people behave a certain way, behave in a way that they respect other people's rights. So even Wilson himself has credited propaganda of all things into being enough to control like most of society. So if you have like a small percentage of society that doesn't, where the methods that are nonviolent don't work for whatever reason, there are like 15% of the police force that are women, and guns are a great equalizer of force. So I think you can, not that this is necessary because there's no such thing as the war between genders, which I've already mentioned. It's so ridiculous. But if you really had to get to those few people for whom all of the other methods of regulating behavior didn't work, you could have the 15% of whatever the force that's women train other women to be in the police force, because mostly women don't do stuff like that because they're not as interested in stuff like that. Women tend to be interested in different types of fields like nursing, where it's more like caring for others. But if they were in like a gender war, of course they would have to learn other things that are more like being in the police and things like that. So I'm just saying, it's if it came down to it, it's technically possible that could happen. It's just not necessary because the world doesn't work like that. There's no gender war, okay? Everybody can relax now.
You guys aren't disagreeing too much on what a right is, but rather like, I guess just a question for both of us: do rights exist if you don't have an enforcement mechanism for them, or do rights literally just come from other people protecting them?
Good. That's a good question. And that was actually goes to my first question. So when I asked Tilly, when I conceded my opener and I asked Tilly, well, do you believe that morality is subjective or objective? So moral claims, Tilly, do you believe that morality is actually like subjective or it's actually objective?
He's
It's
doing
not.
the Tilly thing again. He doesn't do it like as excessively as Wilson, which sometimes he will literally do it like every other word. He'll bring up the other person's name, but he's doing it quite a bit more.
Mind dependent.
Quite a bit more than people normally do.
It's rooted in God.
Well, I think before we get to that, because I feel like it's a totally different thing. So I just reel on the question.
I think it'll roll in though. But go ahead. You're moderating. We can do yours first.
So I'm just curious. Let's say that you.
I think Cooley is like, he doesn't have anything because he has his script that he wants to follow, because he saw that this whole like, oh well, it's just subjective point really worked well for Wilson and all of the Wilson clones. So he really wants to push that point, but he doesn't really want to contend with any of the other arguments. He just wants to push it back to that continuously. Like, he didn't even have an opening. He just stuck with that one thing. So he saw that, okay, well, this works. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to repeat that and see if that like topples it. But they're not having it here. It's funny.
You are denied some right by some person or some group of people. Do you no longer have that right? Do your rights come from other people's enforcements, or do your rights come from God or some metaphysical or some rational constructivist, whatever place? So yeah, no Fugazi and then Tilly answer.
Okay, yeah, so I think that rights come from, it has to be enforced.
Okay.
It has to be enforced. So it has to be, and the only people that can enforce the rights is going to be from men, right? It's going to be men, collectively men.
And then Tilly's answer is?
That rights exist, but there's a difference between a right's existence and the enforcement mechanism. So what I would say is that a state enforces the terms of the social contract that prevent domination. They protect rights, they settle disputes. A state maintains a condition for stable cooperation, which means that the state's not inherently male or patriarchal, right? It's a practical enforcement mechanism, sure, for rights-based cooperation, yes, but that includes loads and loads of other people, like lawyers or police force, politicians, bureaucrats. But also, I don't really care even if the entire enforcement, the only definition you have of enforcement class is just a collection of men. I don't think that that's inherently patriarchal.
Yeah, so like what force doctrine simply proposes is that, rights are force. You can't have a right without force, right? So we keep going to, once again, you can have this idea in your mind and say that you have this right. But if you can't enforce it yourself or appealing to a system to enforce it for you, which not generally, always looking in all throughout history, most of the military, majority men, most of the police force, majority men. So this would be men enforcing rights for men and men enforcing rights for women. So it will be force. So force doctrine is rights equals force.
Yeah, but do you see how this is done? Because this is like me saying, okay, I'm going to do an internal critique of workers' rights movements. I'm going to say that workers appeal to their bosses for a weekend. Therefore, that demonstrates that workers' rights just fall in all over themselves. I can say slaves appeal to their enslavers for freedoms. Therefore, this proves all of this stuff about how slaves have to appeal to a certain system. They have to appeal to a strong group. Like, I think this is done. There's no internal critique here. Like, sure, force doctrine, you're just saying this thing, but force doctrine is ultimately the internal critique of feminism.
But Tilly, you're saying this thing. You're saying a thing, but you're not refuting it. Once again, I would say yes to all of those. All of these systems that we have, the reason why people were enslaved because they didn't have the monopoly on force. Yeah, so therefore, it was someone else. Listen, therefore, there was another society that had greater force and took whatever rights, whatever ideas they had in their mind, they took it away. So this is not, negating my argument. This is what you're saying is actually proving.
The reason, he literally just said that the reason that like those people were enslaved is because they didn't have the monopoly on force. You don't have to have the monopoly on force to not be enslaved. Like, what is it with like having the monopoly on something? Men don't even have the monopoly on force. Like, he's really stuck on that monopoly of force word because it's something else that Wilson says and he's just reading a script, but it doesn't work. Men don't have a monopoly on force. It makes no sense. There's so many ways Cooley can word this better, but he's just not great at this, says Carl. Guess this is definitely not that Cooley is a moral realist, allegedly, but he still believes that rights are a social construct enforced by men. Why bring up moral relativism? Yeah, I don't actually know what his background is, but that's interesting. That's interesting.
The argument of force doctrine.
What do you think of the
Why is it muted?
civil rights movement in the United States, the advanced progress for Black African Americans?
How does this have
progress for Black?
The argument of force
What do
doctrine.
you think of the civil rights movement
It was just me. Okay, sorry.
in the United States, the advanced progress for Black African Americans?
How does this have anything to do with rights? And what do I think about the civil rights movement?
What I'm trying to say.
Okay, got you. Civil rights that gave certain people rights, Black people rights, and things like that. Good thing.
Right. I'm going to say to you, African Americans had to appeal to white people, these stronger groups.
Oh, the race argument.
Institutionally.
You
right?
know what?
Sure, the race
I
argument.
would, listen, I would agree. You're proving force doctrine.
Yeah, which means that
Wow. He took an example of something that's like meant to show how ridiculous it is and says, yep, that's force doctrine right there. Literally falling right into it and showing how ridiculous it is. That's... ouch. And he's like laughing about it as if he's like won something here, like he just won a prize, when he's literally just like got pie on his face right now.
you're subordinating yourself.
What are you? Listen, if you don't, this is why I asked you. Okay, got it. This is not an internal critique.
Okay? Yes, it is. That's what he said.
No, it's not. It's proving my point. You're actually helping
No,
out.
it's not.
You're helping me out with my internal critique. I'll tell you how you're helping me out with my internal critique. Because when I asked
don't
you,
believe that slaves appeal to enslavers for their freedom, and therefore that proves something about the nature of the races. I don't believe that.
who said that? Who said that it's something about the races? It's very simple. I'm getting to the fundamentals, right?
Well, she did, and then you said, yes, that's force doctrine, and it's helping you with your internal critique. But if she doesn't believe that, then you're not doing an internal critique. That's what she's saying. Is it like, is this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, does he? Because it honestly, like, this is another example of, it seems like he's literally like heard some like keywords that he saw in arguments that Wilson did, that he saw worked on other people. He like wrote them down, and now he's like picking random ones and like reading them off like without any particular like rhyme or reason. So like a lot of these arguments, they're not really like in response to what she's saying. Like they don't work as a response. They're kind of coming out of left field, in my opinion. And a lot of times it's like he's just like, he heard like, oh, internal critique, I know that word, internal critique. Well, Wilson claims to do, doesn't actually do internal critique. So I'm gonna say, oh yeah, well, it's my internal critique. Wilson says, oh, you're making my point for me. I'm gonna say that, and I'm gonna say internal critique, and I'm gonna put it together. Wait, are you saying he's using a script? I'm saying it's like he's not... he's like throwing out keywords of stuff that Wilson has said in a way that doesn't actually work as an argument. He's just like, he heard him say these things, and he's like, okay, this is like the smart thing to say, and now he's like tossing it out like it's supposed to mean something. It's just like it's like, this is a mess. It's a complete mess. That's your shocked face. That is a very shocked face. Are you a moral relativist unless you can give an argument for moral realism, then rights are fake? But I'm a moral realist and I still believe rights are fake. Yeah, that's another thing about like I don't know much about like Cooley's background of what exactly his deal is, but I'll take your word for it. But that's another thing that it'll be in the video, but something else that Wilson has said is like, oh, well, rights aren't real, but wait, I can ground rights in God technically, but rights come from men. But if rights come from men, they don't come from God. So make up your mind. So it makes no sense. Like there will be times where he'll be like, well, I can ground rights in God, but then other times he'll be like, no, rights only come from men because men grant rights because they enforce rights. So then they don't come from God, because if they came from God, men wouldn't be able to override them, because God is like so far above men that men can't like take away something that God gave you. Am I tripping? That's obvious stuff. Like if God gives you something, that somebody who's like mortal can't be like, oh, well, never mind, God, like I'm gonna undo that. You can't like undo what God did. Whatever. So annoying. He's trying to distinguish rights from morality. He believes morality is objective, but rights aren't. But then he was asking her about like ground morality and whatever. So he does seem like in this conversation about rights. So I think he is connecting like rights with morality. So I'm not seeing him distinguishing that exactly. Rights come from God, but men grant rights because God doesn't do anything about it if they don't. And why bring that up? Yeah. Still waiting for debate number 3 between Andrew and I on force doctrine. Modern day debate has yet to release it. Oh, cool. Is that something that is that something that you've done before? If morality is objective, then rights are objective too. If stealing is wrong, property rights exist. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is like, oh well, if it can be taken away, then it didn't exist. But then what are you taking away? Like, there's so many logical holes in this. I can't even.
It's a very simple argument. You can bring up black versus white. You can do an emotional appeal. I'm not an emotional man. I know reality. Listen, I know reality.
It's interesting that he's saying that, yes, this like black versus white thing is like aligned with force doctrine. So how is it that like what white people are supposed to be like inherently is somehow like what stronger? That doesn't even make sense, because I think if you were to it's almost like it's a stereotype that it's white people are actually physically weaker. So if this is supposed to be sorry, I'm losing my voice. If this is supposed to be about physical strength because men are physically stronger than women and it can be applied to race, then it wouldn't make sense that black men were the ones that were enslaved. It would follow more that white men would be the ones that were enslaved by black men. Because generally speaking, if you average it out, it's kind of stereotype that white men are weaker. So how does that exactly prove force doctrine? Because to me, it sounds like it just crumbles it further, but okay. Patrick Finnegan says, I'm not an emotional man and hyperventilates. I am actually fed up, but there are times where he's like kind of spazzing out, but it is like 1.5 speed.
And this is true. The reason why Africans over there was enslaved 300, 400 years ago is because guess what? They didn't have the monopoly on force. This is why whites were enslaved too. Whites were enslaving other whites. And also prior to the white people getting there, Africans were enslaving other Africans. This is reality. So what you're saying is demonstrating force doctrine. This is not disproving force doctrine. Once again, the debate is about, is patriarchy necessary for society and is it good? And my standpoint is very simple. Might doesn't make right, but it makes.
Oh, there he goes. He said it. I thought he was going to say it earlier, but he did say it. It was a little later than I thought, but he did say it. He did it. He did the whole, oh, might doesn't make right, might makes thing. Oh my goodness. He did it. Oh boy.
So might makes, which basically it makes the page. It makes. That's what it is. So when we're speaking about my first question that I asked you is morality subjective or objective, you kind of like ran away from it. You really didn't answer it. You went on to something else. Can you truly answer that?
She said she thought it was objective, I think, because of it based on some logic or something. I don't think she ran away from it. I just think, like, I don't remember exactly like the exact words, but it seems like we moved on from that.
Give me an honest answer. Do you truly believe that morality is objective? If so, please demonstrate it. What do you appeal to? How do you ground your morality?
Okay, I think we should backtrack a little bit because I feel like you misunderstood the point that I was making about internal critique. The point that I was making was not that a certain group of people had a monopoly on force. Obviously, there are groups of people throughout society that have monopolies on force. I'm saying that doesn't demonstrate anything about whether or not movements that seek to grant them more or reinforce the rights that exist absent them are good or bad things. So the internal critique, the force doctrine stuff, is essentially to do with the extent to which feminism just falls back and collapses in itself because it relies on patriarchy. I'm saying you can track that analogy to every single movement in the entire tier of human history, and it just doesn't track because there are tons and tons of times where like the weak group has to appeal to the strong in order to get rights, and that says nothing about the movement itself. There's nothing about its legitimacy. And also there are certain cases where physically weaker groups have managed to enslave stronger groups, like under feudalism, etc. So like I've already grounded morality for you. I've already grounded rights. I've already defined rights for you. I've told you why the internal critique falls apart. I've told you that even if men have historically held certain positions and continue to hold certain positions within the enforcement class, that's irrelevant to feminism writ large.
You didn't demonstrate any of that, and now prove to you how you didn't.
Well, wait,
I
got this. So I think the issue is, so Tilly, I think you're trying to say that he is contradicting himself because in this particular argument you guys are having, he's appealing to patriarchy to say that men are the ones that grant rights essentially in society. And you're saying, well, if that's the case, then couldn't you say that any majority group was granting rights to any minority group historically? But I think he'll bite the bullet on it and say yes. So that's why he's saying it's not technically criticizing his position.
Yeah, so
and therefore
it's not a well, no, Tilly, it's not a contradiction. So once again, I don't think you fully understand. Force doctrine is a description. It's not a prescription. So anything that you want to prescribe, like you're asking, well, if whites enslaved blacks, and what do you think and feel about this? I'm like, well, just the simple fact that this happened proves force doctrine.
What? I feel like I've made my point on this one, but come on, really? Like, I did not think that he was gonna fall into that one. Like, he's got so much pie on his face right now. That makes no sense whatsoever. Because I thought it was collectively men against collectively women. What happened to collectively gender? Now it's collectively race? Well, if it's collectively any group of particular thing, then it doesn't matter if it's men or women, and it doesn't matter if it's like physical force, or if it's like guns, or if it's like money, or if it's like what emotional manipulation and shame. Then you can group any kind of particular thing that has power over any other particular thing, and group any particular group together and say, oh, this collective thing against that collective thing. And because somebody collectively dominated against somebody else collectively in whatever way you collectivize or arrange things, like, it's not even collectively, it's a group, whatever like kind of group you can define. And if any kind of group can have power in any way over any kind of other group, then that proves force doctrine. Like, no, that freaking doesn't. That literally doesn't. That disproves force doctrine in the most like clear way possible. I cannot. I'm losing my voice. Sorry. That is ridiculous.
Just a simple fact that it happened proves force doctrine is not any prescription. It's only a descriptor. That's all.
It's not even a descriptor, because it's not how the world works, and it does try to be prescriptor because it's trying to say that like, since men grant women rights, women should appeal to men for rights. That's another one that's apparently force doctrine, is we need to appeal to men for rights. Appeal to what does that mean? Like, ask. That's like, what should women do, not necessarily what they do, because I give up.
All it
Internal
is.
critique about feminism falling in on itself because it has to appeal to the strong group.
It's not just a critique on feminism. It's not just a critique on feminism. Force doctrine is reality. Any rights and laws that you haven't demonstrated it yet. You're only proving my arguments, Tilly. You haven't demonstrated. So please.
That's another one of the they probably teach that in debate university. Just constantly calling the other person, or not calling, saying that the opponent is proving your argument. Just repeat that over and over, and then people will think you're winning.
Please, let's do this, because you haven't grounded your morality. I even wrote it down. You tried to ground
and that too. Ground your morality. You haven't grounded your morality.
On your morality and say that, well, morality comes from like logic.
This is like a gotcha thing, because most people haven't really thought through like the basis of where morality comes from, and etc. all of that. Even religious people tend to just like throw out God as a general answer, like that's without any further explanation. So this is just like a tactic thing. There are plenty of arguments against force doctrine that she has made and you can make without having to ground morality or anything like that. You can literally pick it apart with, like she was doing with like internal critique, which means you don't have to ground your own anything. You can basically point out how within what force doctrine says things don't fit together or make sense or align with reality. So you don't have to ground anything personally. Like what she personally thinks about morality doesn't actually matter here at all.
Like that's how it's basically objective. That doesn't make any sense. That's how it's objective. I'm asking you, give me a straight answer. Well, one, let's just ask this. Are you atheist or are you religious?
Irrelevant.
Atheist.
Okay, so you're an atheist.
What is that supposed to mean?
And your ground.
You know what? I do wish that there were more religious people that argued with them about rights, because then they would have to agree with them, like, oh, well, you ground whatever in God, because they do also think that's subjective, which, obviously I disagree with personally, but it would be, they could skip that whole, because this whole, like, as soon as they don't say that they ground whatever in God, they think that they've won there because, oh, well, your thing is just subjective, and they can basically dismiss everything else you say, regardless of whatever like internal critique you want to do on their like worldview itself or their doctrine or whatever you want to do at that point. They've got you because the audience thinks that, oh, well, they've got you, that you have nothing because your thing is just subjective. So I do wish that more people that were religious like they are, so they could be more of like an even playing field, because regardless of how much you try to explain it, they just don't accept it. Like he just basically repeats that like it's subjective, and if it's not God, then it's subjective no matter what. So like no matter what your argument is, they don't seem to accept it. Patrick says he used 1 Corinthians 7, 1-5 and Romans 13, 1-5. I don't know what that refers to, but that is interesting. Maybe I'll make note of that so I can look into it later. And just take a screenshot.
Grounding morality and logic. So if I'm a logical rational being, you're a logical rational.
If only you were a logical rational being, that would, maybe this conversation would make sense if you were.
Being, and there's many, so people that kill people for a living and commit all of these mass murders, you're saying that they don't operate logically?
Yep. Or at least like the logic that grounds like the correct way in which for agents to act rationally in society is like wrong. This is not
okay. What about women? Okay, so what about women? Okay, so what about women that abort their children? And yeah, they do it for reasons where it's like, oh, I slept with the wrong person, I'm gonna go ahead and abort this baby. It's not for reasons like rape or like her life is in jeopardy. It's for a reason like, I slept with the wrong person, I don't think that he's the one, and I don't want to have his kid, I'm aborting this child. Do you think that women should have that right to do that?
Yeah, I think that falls under the right.
And you would think that that's morally good?
It's morally good that they have that right realized. Yeah.
Okay, so it is morally good that women abort their children just for how they feel. But once again, where are you?
Interesting framing there, but whatever. I hate when people like drag it into abortion because it's like it's an emotional argument because people get really like, yeah.
Where are you grounding it good in? You're not ground. Right, you're ground. It's subjective, Tilly. You believe in subjective morality.
One says spouses have rights to each other's bodies for sex equally, and the other that government officers have right to people's respect and honor, as well as the monopoly on force, including death. Does the Bible? That spouses have rights to each other's bodies. Yeah, like having rights to each other's bodies for sex. That sounds icky to me personally. I wonder what like the context in that is, because that sounds icky. Like just having like a right to somebody else's body, that sounds wrong to me. Like not that I'm saying like it doesn't say that, but like in like a moral sense, that sounds wrong to me. It sounds creepy. Yeah, that's kind of where I was. Yeah, it sounds. Yeah. We'll go with icky. Exodus 20:15, you shall not steal, proof for yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because a lot of things like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, things like that are like God telling you that people have rights, because like what is that then? If thou shalt not kill, then the people have a right to life. And that makes sense. I think that's something I've mentioned before too. At least for like the religious argument.
The requisite agents that are prerequisites for agency.
I think that might have been in the video that I did on like the Eastern Orthodox points against force doctrine or something. I don't remember what it was actually called, but I think it's somewhere in that video.
That's not subjective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What are the rational conditions that are prerequisites for agency? Exclusive authority over one's own body.
You kind of like cut out there for me, and it got low. Say that again. I didn't even hear you.
I was saying that agency requires exclusive authority over your own body. Like there are rational conditions that are prerequisites for agency, and those things can be like concluded rationally.
Okay, so as long as it's rational, let's just use your argument and let's see if it makes sense. as long as something is rational, then it's good. If it's rational and logical, then it's good.
No, because I'm saying that if a rational agent doesn't have certain authority about whether or not their own internal bodily processes, then they don't have bodily autonomy. Okay, so I'm not saying as long as you can logically justify something in a logically watertight way, that automatically makes it something that is a really good thing. Like there are a bunch of things that maybe I could logically get to that you might have objections to.
So Tilly, it's not objective. Objective means that it's not changing. It's not objective. It changes based off of your subjective interpretation of what you believe is more.
I don't know if objective necessarily means that something doesn't change. Like objective just means like a mind isn't necessary to like interpret it, to like it's not dependent on like a mind existing. It doesn't mean that things don't change. Like you can have an objective thing that changes. It's still objectively like exists, but it's different. Like everything changes. The world is constantly changing. So I don't understand this whole like objective means not changing thing. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm not like obviously I'm no philosopher. I don't even know like all that much about all these metaphysical arguments, but to me, just like based on just thinking it through for a minute, that doesn't make sense. That just because something is objective, it means that it won't change. That makes no sense. Grape is not allowed. Telling spouses they cannot withhold sex indefinitely is different than force. Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. I think like you are supposed to. That is part of marriage. But like having a right to it implies that like you can do with it what you will whenever you want to. But yeah, I mean, who's telling the spouses? Where the church would be telling the spouses that. Which, you know, if people consent to the church being in their business, I guess that's fine. If they want the pastor in their sex lives or whatever, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, if it literally reads like that they have a right to each other's bodies for sex equally, I don't know, that doesn't, that literally sounds like whenever I want, like it's as good as like what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine kind of thing. Fandom says, "Whoa, I stepped away for a few minutes. The topic took a weird turn." No, I mean we're just kind of touching up on that. We'll try not to hover that too long because it's. I mean, we have covered the debate where it's Rob Noor versus Andrew Wilson, and that topic comes up of marital essay and whether it's like okay or not. And yeah, I think we've covered that one already.
Morally good and morally not good based off of using your rational mind. So you're making an appeal to logic and reason for morality. Well, guess what? This is still going to be subjective, Tilly. This is not proving that morality is objective. You actually fully demonstrated that it's subjective.
Well, what are the rational conditions that are prerequisites for agency in a civilization? What would you say that those things are? Because what I see is there are certain rational prerequisites for society to exist writ large. For example, I can't go around killing people. If everyone collectively decides that they feel as though it's okay to infringe on another's property rights, that's a very difficult way to do society. I would argue it's almost impossible. I would say that it's an objective fact about the social world. Yeah,
well, the thing is, I would agree with that, but your understanding and your definition of, objective morality does not demonstrate that. Because once again, if you're saying that you believe in objective morality and you're appealing to rational beings and logical beings, well, we all need to act in accordance of logic and be rational. And you're saying that sometimes if you're acting rational and logic, it can be good, but other times you can utilize reason and logic and act in a rational way and it can be bad, right? So if it's good, if it can be good and it can also be bad, this does not mean that it's objective. This means that it's subjective.
Yeah, because agency has rational preconditions. For example, you cannot be under arbitrary coercion in order to have agency.
Okay, so got it. So now you're using agency in there to give people agency. Well, what if I think that you don't have any agency?
Okay.
And I take your agency, but I'm utilizing reason and logic to take the agency and to kill you.
You're not using reason, rationality, and logic to revoke my agency. You're using physical brute force.
Well, wouldn't that be removing your agency?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd be violating somebody's rights? Okay, so what? I mean, what is that supposed to prove?
would remove my agency using
I
physical
can do it in a rational way by setting up a plan to kill you.
So you can see that there are some type of like norms that we use there. Yeah,
I mean, the point is that society doesn't work without like the concept of rights. Like it doesn't, or at least, well, it doesn't really work whatsoever. The way that we have society where we're not literally like dog eat dog, like we're human beings. We have society, and rights are like that concept is necessary for society to exist, like she was explaining. I think that makes sense. Because otherwise, like, if everybody's going out there and doing whatever they want to anybody, that we don't have society. That's not a society anymore. It's just wilderness, which is what society is trying to get away from. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that. Yeah, I think he is either like purposely misunderstanding it, or he just doesn't get it because he just doesn't get it. Since they get all in the essay thing. But anyways, it says, as soon as I joined, I hear this guy talking about logic, rational, objective, as if he understands any of the philosophical underpinnings of those words. You know, I mean, honestly, he sounds so lost here. He's literally just like parroting arguments he heard elsewhere. That's what this sounds like to me.
Sure, you can set up a plan to kill me.
In a
By the way, welcome back, Brendan.
logical way. What are you saying? I'm really trying to understand you. I'm giving you some grace here. Go ahead, speak.
There is a non-optional structure of agency that is required of us to coexist together in society. So you coming up with a plan to kill me is violating a non-optional structure of agency.
Okay, got it. So explain what's your definition of agency? You put some words in there, but fully explain what you mean by agency. Because correct me if I'm wrong, you're trying to demonstrate that morality is objective, not by a god, but is objective because we utilize logic and rationality, but also agency. What's that agency part? Explain that for me.
Just to cut through this, maybe, and again, I don't do formal philosophy, but so I think we're having a disagreement on subjective and objective, where we're slicing in like material and immaterial or something as well. So I think when Tilly's saying objective, what she's saying is that if there's some desirable end state for society to exist, then there's going to be some necessary lines of argumentation that every rational being will agree with. So if we believe that people having agency in society is good and everybody has a rational mind, we can all do.
He talks too fast.
Deduction and all that there are going to be some arguments that objectively must be true and unchanging from person to person in order to satisfy said end condition. Not that it necessarily is like mind independent or comes from God or anything like that, I believe is what Tilly's saying, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, okay, yeah. And then, okay, so then I'm not actually 100% sure. So no Fugazi, when you're arguing against her saying, well, that's subjective because some people can take it, the response here is not that like somebody else taking it doesn't prove that it's not
the taking. Mm-hmm. I'm arguing that from you.
I think like Destiny can't help himself. Like he wants to get in on a debate. He can't help himself. He has to interject. Destiny already talks in 2.0 playback speed. Yeah, exactly. The sped up version just was not registering. Like that was
using her definition of objective morality, since she's not appealing to God, she's appealing. So when I'm thinking of objective means that it's mind and.
Yeah, see like the difference now that I have it on normal speed, this guy sounds really like tedious.
Dependent, not mind dependent. So if it's mind dependent and she's utilizing logic and reason, then so objective means mind independent, but she's depending on the mind because she's utilizing logic and reason. And therefore, when she's saying that, well, someone can utilize logic and reason, but they can do something that is bad and they can also do something that is good. So where is it objectively good? Where are you grounding your objectively good moral standard and your objectively bad moral standard?
I think the objective is just, objectively means just, and again, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, I think objectively here just means it's like logically satisfying an end condition. So if you have some ZFC, some set of like math axioms, you would say that like 1 + 1 = 2. This is an objectively true.
Objective is not mind independent. Objective is independent of contingent minds. He's clearly not read up on the subject. Contingent minds. I'm clearly not read up on the subject either. I don't know what you mean by that. I'll have to look it up. Because last time I looked into it, I thought it was like mind dependent, but maybe I didn't look into it like as thoroughly besides like the surface level. Well, it was that subjective was mind dependent on mind, so I think I just assumed that objective was the opposite, but I think I was maybe not correct to do that. Objective is stance independent. Yeah, that's kind of what I used to think like objective and subjective meant, like that like subjective is like you personally, or like people might have like different opinions on things, but objective would be like it's like an overall like a higher, it's more like a truth versus like an opinion. That's kind of how I used to think of it, but then I heard in the debates them defining it like as subjective being like dependent on a mind. So I was like, okay, so objective means the opposite of that then. So I think I'm just getting myself more confused. Let me look it up real quick. Okay. Oh, like a contingent, like literally like a contingent. Okay, I thought contingent meant something else there, but it literally just means like a contingency, like a condition. Okay, that makes sense. I think I was overthinking this. So it says humans, animals, aliens, and AI are all contingent. You exist because of biology, history, physics, etc. You could have failed to exist. That is contingency. So, okay, that makes sense. So if we were to not exist, then it would not be the case. And then objective versus subjective would be subjective is dependent on contingent minds, and objective is independent of contingent minds. And contingent being like we could have not existed for whatever reason. And if all contingent minds vanished, then the thing still holds as subjective. But what minds are there that aren't contingent? Well, okay. Before anybody says God, what other minds are there? And does God even like count as a mind, or is it like some other like concept being thing? Okay, so it has 2 + 2 = 4 as objective in the sense that no contingent mind makes it true. They only discover it. Okay, that's an important one. I think that's kind of where that's kind of where I think this conversation fits in. So 2 + 2 = 4 is objective in the sense that no contingent mind makes it true. They only discover it. So I think that's kind of what she was saying, that this concept of rights is necessary for society to exist, and therefore it's something that people like discover is true about the way that people like interact and the society exists, and like what is versus like yeah, it's because it's not that the minds existing make it true. It's that okay. I think that makes a little bit more sense when it's put like that. That it's something that's like discovered versus like comes from the source of the mind. Okay. But like minds are contingent because like all like people, everything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I would have to read about that some more because I'm not as educated on that particular thing. So I think I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more. If the law of identity is true and identities are immaterial, then the law of identity exists based on a mind. I don't. I think I'm gonna have to look into that some more because I don't know if that necessarily makes sense the way I'm thinking of it. Fathom says, I would say that God has a mind. It's part of my criteria for calling a being a god. Okay, that's interesting. Because for me, like, if there was a god, that concept would be like something that, sorry, that wouldn't be like something, because like I know we have minds, which is, I mean, even defining mind is difficult. Like something that is some sort of agent that thinks and rationalizes and things like that. But if God is a concept that's beyond everything, it's, for me at least, possible that it's not like a mind in the way that we think of what a mind is. Okay, this is getting completely way out there. Let me catch up here and then we can see if we can move on a little bit. If all minds are contingent, then the laws of logic are contingent, which is irrational. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think it's necessarily that like laws of logic are contingent because that's something that we discover versus something that comes from the minds themselves. So I don't know if I agree with that
statement, because given some set of
I'll
axioms,
have to read more about it.
you know, this is what we come up with, is 1 + 1 = 2. If you're looking at a social arrangement where there's a social contract where people all have some maximum level of agency, they can choose to do things or whatever, right? If this is the case, then that means that there's going to be some things that you have to agree on in terms of a lot, like not killing, not murder, like not murdering.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But here's my argument. It's very simple. Objective means mind independent. If we are appealing to a collection of people to agree on things, like if we're appealing to numbers, we say this is bad, right? Well, a grape is bad. A collection of people can say, yes, grape is bad. Okay, but what if a collection of people say, well, grape is actually good? Then does that mean that it's right? Like, so if we're appealing to numbers to satisfy what's moral, or if we're appealing to logic and reason to satisfy what's moral, then it's all subjective, because who are you to determine what's satisfying something?
Sure. So okay,
that's
so then
all
to,
going to be
so
a
then
subjective
to Tilly,
measure.
Let's say two people have a disagreement on what is morally true over the subject of sexual assault or something else, of stealing or whatever, of killing. If two people have a disagreement here, how do you resolve that disagreement? Or would you say one side is wrong, or how do you address that?
Wait, sorry, it cut out for a second. There were about 10 seconds where I couldn't hear what you were saying. Could you go back? Could you just repeat the whole thing?
Which objective versus subjective thing?
We got getting better now. All right, Tilly, can you speak for us to see if it's good?
Hello. I'm so sorry about my connection. Is it working again?
Right now it seems okay. Yeah.
Okay. Wait.
Okay, so real quick, so you guys are both getting hung up on this like objective versus subjective thing. So his question boils down to, let's say two people have a disagreement over what is moral. How do two different people resolve that disagreement?
Yeah. So.
Wow, this guy's not a good moderator. Yeah, Destiny seems to wanna. Destiny has had debates with Wilson before on. I think they've also covered briefly on like forced auction and stuff. I don't think he did a very good job, like, defeating it personally. I think there are a lot of arguments that he could have made that he didn't. but he's done several debates with Wilson, and he's done several debates with like other red pillars and things like that. So I think he's like just like itching to be the one to argue. He can't seem to like stay out of it. Destiny is debated by trade, so moderation is kind of tempting. Yeah, tempting for him. Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
So what I would say is,
I think he's having trouble letting her like speak for herself. He has to like come and try to be like, well, she really means. Which I think he does like, he does a fair job describing like what she's trying to say, but like I don't know. I think he just like really wants to be part of it. Then perhaps you should say, yeah. This debate doesn't go anywhere onwards. They just talk about the Force Doctrine the entire time. Is it really? Yeah, because that's weird, because I thought like they were gonna do Force Doctrine because they all, that seems to be a thing that people like to do, but then they would move into like patriarchy versus feminism or whatever, because I thought this was like a patriarchy debate. At least the title is patriarchy debate, and Destiny moderates, moderates-ish patriarchy debate. So yeah, I mean we'll try to watch a little bit of it, but I don't think we're gonna get through the whole 2 hours, of course. But that's interesting that they don't even really cover like patriarchy or feminism, because apparently she's like, it's versus feminists. So I thought they would be like more about feminism specifically.
that like, hold on, I think I wrote something down about this disagreement situation. Yeah, so I think that like something is objective, right? Like if it doesn't depend on someone's individual preferences and stuff, and if you can't deny it without contradiction. So I feel like if there is some kind of inherent contradictory logic, like for example, if you say something like, I don't know, like if you say the agency, right? Because you wanted me to define agency, some kind of capacity to like form intentions, to act on intentions, to give reason for your actions, right? There are components to that. Like definitionally, ontologically speaking, there are components of agency. So like intentionality will probably be one of them. Like causality, like via the body. So like you can use your body to carry out your intentions.
I think the basic on the basics here, I think there'd be agreement. But let's say somebody says, I don't think women should have agency. How do you resolve the disagreement between those two people if we're saying that if you're arguing that there's an objective foundation to rights and two people have a disagreement like that, how do you resolve that disagreement?
I think because the first thing is to say is that we would objectively assert that women are rational moral agents, and therefore they have to be able to form reasons for an action and to treat other agents as bearers of reasons themselves. So there are multiple like syllogistic steps that you would take to make the argument and assert that there is an objective way in which people coexist in society. This is why like feminism is the extension of the social contract to include women within this. So like historically patriarchy has been a thing of there is institutionalized force and then there is private interpersonalized force, and men have been the bearers or like the inflictors of interpersonal private force. Right, and what I would say is extending the social contract to include women within a society that is absent of coercion and domination is like ontologically a thing that progresses society, right?
Yeah. So one real quick, men always gave women rights in society. They always have certain rights. You know, so
you're okay. That's not good. It's like completely dead. I have to get my other mouse. We'll have to do the manual way of switching this off. I'll be right back. I have to get the other mouse so I can use and click and stuff, because that's important. I can't believe that just happened. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Alright, got some cables here. I'm gonna make it work. Aristotle's laws of thought are not universally binding. They apply within specific logical systems. For example, dialetheism. I don't know what that is. I'm losing my voice for real. Rejects the law of non-contradiction. I'm not sure what dialetheism. Dialetheism? I don't know what that is. My cat really wants to come in too, but I want to fix this first. I'll charge this mouse too. This one. This is usually my work mouse. But sometimes I wish it warned me. Like, I wish when the battery went low, it warned me somehow, but it never does. It always just shuts off. Cal says, well, I mean, the force doctrine is still relevant to this topic, but there's a lot more to this topic than just this. Just turn to an intrinsic rights debate that doesn't go anywhere. As it often does, for some reason. Yeah, that it tends to happen. How does the system deal with married bachelors and squared circle? Who removed your comment earlier? Did you have a comment earlier that got removed? I didn't know that there was something that was removed. I don't know, sometimes YouTube deletes stuff, but also I wonder if you have like top chat instead of live chat. Maybe if you don't have, like, from the drop down it says top chat or live chat. Sometimes it, like, for me it just reverted back to top chat for some reason. I didn't even notice. I had to click live chat again. So maybe you're just not seeing it, but I don't know anything was deleted. Now I'm curious as to what it was. I missed 2 second premise of okay. That is interesting though. That I do wonder if, yeah, let me know if it's just a top chat versus live chat thing or if something is really gone, because that's not cool. But YouTube also, like, not even during live chats, but during, like, for like regular videos in the regular comment section, a lot of times YouTube will, like, remove comments like that. And sometimes I'll get other comments being like, "Oh, why'd you delete my comment? Are you butthurt?" or whatever. And I don't even know what they're talking about. I'm just like, I don't know what you said, bro, but YouTube must have not liked it. They're very touchy lately, so I don't know. But we screen comments in live chat too. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I wonder if, like, and sometimes like the like automated moderation, it sometimes like catches things that like aren't really like bad. It just like fits some criteria somehow that, for instance, after men are powerful but X are powerless. Okay, but yeah, but you have, okay, yeah, they don't like that for some reason, which I find so annoying. Like, I think you should be able to say stuff like that. If anything, like, I think you should be able to say stuff like that regardless of like what your opinion is on anything, because like I think free speech is important. I know it's like a private platform and everything, but I think it's so important to be able to say stuff like that because, one, you should be able to know like who the people are who think like that, and otherwise, like, if people are censoring themselves, you don't really know who people are. So if people are like wanting to say stuff that's like unhinged for real, you won't know because they're like self-censoring, and you could be like supporting a person that you wouldn't normally support if you really knew like what they thought about things. And in the other example of like the one that I run into more often is like, I want to say something sarcastically, or I want to say something where I'm like quoting somebody else, and even that isn't allowed. So a lot of times it's specifically, it's specifically like Phantom was saying, it's specifically like stuff related to women specifically. I don't know how many more times I can say the word specifically, but it is like, oh well, if you imply like women are in any way, like anything negative about women generally makes it so you can't even send it sometimes. Like I tried, there was one time I wanted to send a super chat where I was trying to be like sarcastic about something like that. Most of the time in the comments I get screen or yeah, satire. Yeah, that's same for me too. And I even tried to send like super chats before that had very mild, not even like anything like awful or excessive, like a very like mild sarcasm or satire even, and they would it like wouldn't send unless I removed like the negative thing about women. Even like slightly negative, even yeah, it's really excessive and it's not fair. Like I don't know. I personally really hate it. Or if you say things that even resemble things like, yeah, the women are, I don't know if I should even say that. It's gonna take my stream down. Not as strong, or if the comment isn't intended to mean that, God forbid say anything to the, yeah, I'm afraid to even go there. They're so touchy, and I really wish that there was a different platform out there that had the same like user base and reach that YouTube does, that didn't have like as many of these ridiculous like censorship rules and everything. I really wish, but there just isn't. There's always Rumble. Yeah. I mean, Rumble is full of basically like right wing only, and there's no like, I don't see anyone like center on there. I tried using it too, but their UI just sucks so bad, and I don't know, it's just not a great product. And even the people that do try using it, like it's not as intuitive. Their integrations aren't as fleshed out. Like you can't just click a button and stream to it. And most things you have to like manually configure it. And I actually tried looking into streaming to Rumble, and you can't even like start streaming to. You have to put up like a video for it to play while it's like before the stream actually starts, which is annoying. Like I don't have like here's a loading intro video or anything, like a short looping video. Like I don't have anything like that. So I'm like, okay, well I guess I can't stream there until I come up with something like that. So I don't know, there's just a lot of barriers to it, and the UI sucks. Did I say the UI sucks? The UI really sucks. It's not intuitive at all. And especially like the search is terrible. Like anytime you're trying to find anything, it's terrible. The related suggestions and things like that are terrible, because that's a lot of what YouTube like is really good about, is like keeping you engaged and like suggesting stuff to you that you might want to see. While Rumble has like none of that really. It's terrible about that. That's why I sometimes refer to women as W and men as M in the comments. Yeah, that's smart. I like that. That's smart. I should probably do something like that, because a lot of times my stuff gets like removed, or I can't even send it in case of super chats because it's like satire or something. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but YouTube, like it was a thing before Google even bought it, and I think that's when it was the best. And I kind of wish I had started it way back then, but it's the same thing with like Bitcoin. I wanted to do things a certain time, and then I just never did because of whatever reason. And then at some point I'm like, oh well, no, it's too late. And so now I don't even like, oh, I hate Bitcoin so much, because I was like going to go buy it and I just never got around to it because I just like had other stuff to do. And you know what, I don't even want to talk about it. We're not talking about Bitcoin here. We're not doing that. You know what? Bitcoin is like a banned topic on this channel. How's that? I hate that so much. There's some things that like you just can't go back in time, and it's one of those things where like I just can't go back in time when like I almost did something. Like I was this close to being like so rich right now. And like YouTube is another kind of similar one, but I was like, well, I'm not getting any younger, so I might as well start now, because I don't want to be like 60 and regret doing it. I might as well be like, you know, in my 30s and regret doing it, or in my 40s and regret doing it, in my 50s regret doing it. So like the sooner it is that I do it, I might as well just start, and that's why I'm here, because I don't want to keep like regretting not doing stuff. Anyway, a little bit story time there.
Understanding of, you know, like the patriarchy and the people that have the monopoly on enforcement.
Yeah, I can't listen to him on like regular speed. I have to switch it back when Destiny talks, but yeah, it's too...
That's enforcing these rights. They just leave women out. That's not the case. Women have always had certain rights in societies that was built. Once again, Tilly, you're still not demonstrating, right? You're not demonstrating at all how morality is objective. You're always still appealing to the mind, and it's all subjective. It is subjective. You can't get around it. Please give me a better demonstration how it is objective. Where do you ground morality? Where do you ground?
Sorry, I think I heard a cat fight or something. Alright, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I thought I heard like a cat argument. But I went out there and nothing was going on, so... But I did let the kitty in that wanted to come in, because I felt kind of bad. It's just like with cats, you know, sometimes they'll demand to come in, and then they're gonna be like, okay, now let me out. Okay, now let me in, now let me out. And then they'll start going in and out, and it's so annoying. So, he's gonna have to deal with being stuck here now. Alright, I don't know how much more of this we're gonna do, because it is getting kind of late, but I'll only play a few more minutes and see if it gets anywhere, but it's very, like, circular, because it seems like they're stuck in this loop of, like, here's some arguments, but now what are you basing it on? What is... define this or whatever, or what are you... what's your morality based on, or ground this or ground that. So is your thing just subjective, or is my thing objective, or is my thing subjective? Oh, you going to bed. Good night, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time, I hope.
What you think is good and is bad if you do not appeal to anything outside of yourself. You're always appealing to self, what's in the mind, so it's subjective. For an example, I'll dip out. Dang, she's cutting up again. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Oh, she's good.
I can hear you now.
Okay, I thought it was lagging. So, for an example, if you believe... So, here's what I'm saying, which was my first argument and my first question, because once again, I seen you post something and you said that, well, forced doctrine is might makes right. I said that forced doctrine isn't might makes right. You did say this. You said this. You posted this. That's basically what you said, so I believe that's what you think. But you can correct me.
Feminism that demonstrates why feminism falls in on itself due to the fact that women appeal to men for an enforcement class.
Oh,
that was really fast.
Is that okay?
Is forced doctrine? No, is forced doctrine might makes right? Is that what you believe or no?
Not necessarily, but it oftentimes does collapse into that, especially because your understanding of force, like, ultimately does demonstrate that might makes right to you. So force doctrine itself, no, it's probably not might makes right, but your like ideological belief system is probably that might makes right.
Okay.
And this in fact probably justify patriarchy.
No, my ideology isn't that might makes right, because I don't appeal to what's in my mind. I appeal to what's outside of my mind. But since how you demonstrated objective morality is actually all subjective, because you are appealing to logic and reason.
Why does he say appelling? Like, instead of appealing, he says appelling. Appelling. Why do you appel to? Like, I'm pretty sure it's appeal. Like peeling an apple, like appeal. But I don't know why he's saying it like that.
These things that are inside the mind and agency, satisfying agency. Well, who's to determine what is actually truly satisfying agency and what is not satisfying agency? This would be a subjective measure. So if it is all subjective under your worldview, you rely on preferences. Everything reduces down to preferences. So if it's
here we go. Everything reduces down to. That's another key word there.
Preferences, a preference-based morality. Well, you are going to have to. How do you justify then? How do you justify, what's good and what's bad? If it's just preferences, right, because it is just preferences, Tilly.
This is okay. This is becoming a loop of just preferences, subjective. I don't know. Patrick says he's confusing that with appellate court, right? I guess. I'm not sure what that is either. I feel like really uneducated right now. It sounds familiar, but I don't actually remember what that is. Not like the court where you do like your actual like legal appeals. If that's what you mean by that. I've never heard it called that though. Wilson clone farming is tedious. Yeah.
No, because logical laws are not invented by the mind, right? Like, they're conditions that make having a mind possible. Like, you can't think or assert anything unless non-contradiction holds. So something that I would say, for example, is that, like, morality is objective for that reason, right? Because there are certain moral norms that are necessary conditions for being a rational agent at all. And they're not, like, optional preferences, right? Like, they're built into what it means to interact with people as a human being.
Yeah, I can interact with, someone can interact with a human being totally fine. But what if that person then, once again, you think that abortion and a woman taking a baby's life away is a good thing. I think it's a bad thing. Who's right in this instant? Who's right? How do we determine who's right? Is it based off of, a collection of people making this law? Because that's what you're appealing to. Basically, you're saying that, well, abortion is right. And it's a good thing if a woman aborts her child because we collectively came together and gave women the right to make these abortions. So therefore, you're appealing to this right that men enforce. So you're appealing to force doctrine. But in this instant, might does make right. Because hypothetically, if you got pregnant and you wanted to abort your baby, but the father of that baby was trying to stop you, cops would come and lock him up, force him in prison.
The state is stronger than both me or that man.
Once again, you have to appeal. So then might does make right for abortions.
So might does might make right to you?
No, might makes right for abortions. Is that true or not true?
No, not necessarily. I don't think might makes right.
Okay, well then how can you have an abortion if, generally speaking, most women aren't stronger than the people that they lay with? If you
hang on, so I thought his whole spiel was, I don't think that might makes right. But now he's insisting that, at least in this abortion example, that might does make right, because the cops would stop somebody trying to stop you from having one. He is arguing against himself here, and I'm not understanding why he's choosing to do that. Yes, that court. Okay, appellate is what they make appeals from. Okay, it pronounces appeal as appellate. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I kind of thought so, but I wasn't sure because I've never heard it like called that. I've always heard it called like court of appeals, not like appellate court. I've never heard like that name before, but I was kind of putting two and two together, so that makes sense. Yeah, I don't understand why he's doing that here, because he literally just said, I don't think that might makes right. I just think that might makes. But here he's saying, well, doesn't that mean that might makes right? Don't you think that might makes right? It might makes right because blah, 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 his example. Like, I don't understand why he's contradicting himself.
Get pregnant, he can physically lock you up in a cage and say, you're not having this abortion, you're actually going to have this baby. He will monitor you, make sure you don't do anything dumb, and make sure that baby comes to term. The man, generally speaking, men have the monopoly on the force.
The same examples too, like locking women up in cages and stuff like that. Other like horrible stuff like that is another Wilson clone thing. Same examples, same everything.
An individual man can do this. Possibly even a 13-year-old can do this to a woman. They're physically stronger than most women, maybe 16. But what I'm saying is you would have to appeal to a system of a patriarchal system of men enforcing the right for you to have that abortion, which then in that instant does make right. Do I have this correct or wrong?
So what is the state under your remit?
So does make right then?
What do you mean by what is the state?
What, can you like define the state as? Is it an institution? Is it the enforcement class itself? What is the state?
Well, a state would be, it would be an institution. It can just be I would say a state would be an institution. It would be force as well, people that can enforce it. And that's what it would be, institution and force.
So
both.
What I would say is, let's say I'm in a terrible situation where someone is interpersonally using coercive and arbitrary domination against me. I would not appeal to men. I would appeal to the state, which is because if I were just appealing to the man who has kidnapped me, that might not necessarily. I would appeal to the state, which is an institutional system. The state is that organization which has a monopoly on the legitimate use of force, right? What is this to do? It's designed to enforce certain terms of a social contract, designed to protect arbitrary domination. So not only does it protect rights using an enforcement class, it also settles disputes. It also maintains conditions for stable cooperation, right? So sure, you have your enforcement class, and you also have like many more practical enforcement mechanisms that are used for rights-based cooperation. Which
she's 100% right there. That's kind of different context and different ones, but same stuff I've said before. That's absolutely right, because it's the institution of it that you're appealing to. You're not appealing to a collection of men. You're appealing to this like concept, which is not just men. It's also women, and it's also like this whole bureaucracy of paperwork and secretaries and like judges and all of that kind of stuff.
Means the state is not inherently male, it's not inherently patriarchal just because it happens to have a majority male enforcement class, given that I demonstrated that rights exist absent mind.
Can the state enforce anything without men enforcing it for them?
Well, like I said, I feel as though that's so irrelevant.
Yeah, well, no, that would be, you would have to answer, no, they can't. So once again, you're still appealing to force doctrine.
Most things are enforced without men literally going out there and physically forcing. There's only a small percentage of things need physical force. I've said that so many times.
You can't.
I'm not appealing to force doctrine. That is a made-up.
Oh, hi, RN Pro. All right, I'm so used to calling you that. I guess Rick Nell makes more sense since they switched all of the YouTube things now. I was wondering if you'd still be live when I woke up. You just woke up? Oh my goodness, I didn't. How late or how early is it there? Jeez. Yeah, probably not for much longer though, because it is getting pretty late. But yeah, this is getting so circular and repetitive that I think I think somebody else said that they watched through the end and they don't ever move on from this topic. So I don't think we'll be missing much if we got it off here soon.
Pop philosophy term, I'd be appealing
No,
to.
you're appealing to people that can enforce your right. You are appealing to the
right, but they can't.
Yes.
People can realize a right, but people can't invent a right. People can discover a right. Therefore, I'm not relying on men for my rights. I'm relying on an enforcement class of people, including female lawyers, female police officers, female politicians, female bureaucrats, and a shift in wider cultural norms that is caused by feminist progress, which are based on certain preferences, right?
So once again, if I'll just ask the question again.
She's got him there. He's going to keep reverting to this whole ground morality and ground this and subjective that. But as far as the relevant arguments go to force doctrine, I think she's got him. She doesn't make like all of the arguments that like I would personally cover, but I think the ones that she has made are enough. Like honestly, you only need one or two. There's like a dozen arguments that can be made against it that pull it apart, but you only need one or two. Like you don't even need all of them to take it apart.
And because you didn't answer it, you're avoiding it. You answered it, but you weren't aware that you answered it. Actually, I'm not even going to ask the question. I'm going to demonstrate how you've answered it and prove my argument. Okay. If you believe that women can have abortions, you believe that it's right. You believe that it's right. It's a construct in your mind currently right now. In order for it to actually be enforced, you need to appeal to a system that can enforce it. You said the state, but what does the state appeal to? The state appeals to a collection of men that can enforce whatever rights, laws, and rules that they come up with. So
The state doesn't appeal to a collection of men. What is he talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Rachel Wilson versus latest feminist could be a future case. You're in Europe. Oh my goodness, that is cool. Oh, you know what? I saw yesterday. I saw the debate between Rachel and the other feminist with the poofy hair. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. A modern debate, and I literally started making like a live. I was like making a thumbnail for it. I was gonna react to it like sort of live-ish, and I started making it and like working on the thumbnail and stuff. And as I was doing that, I was kind of like listening to it in the background. And I was so annoyed. I just couldn't do it. I was like, I can't do it. I had like the description and the title and everything like written up and ready to go. And I had like most of the thumbnail done. And all I had to do was like kind of like a few more clicks and I would like have created the like live item and I would have like had it scheduled and everything. And I just couldn't do it because as I was listening to it in the background, I was just so annoyed. It was so annoying. It was so incredibly annoying. I couldn't do it. I literally couldn't like sit through it. It was so incredibly annoying. I didn't watch it from the beginning. I only like kind of watched it while as it was going on live towards the end there, but it was literally just like Rachel going off at the other woman, and like as soon as she would like the other feminist lady or whatever, she would get like a few words out as like starting a sentence, and Rachel would just cut her off and start like ranting again. And then she would ask her question, and the other woman would start to answer, and Rachel would like cut her off like a few words in again and start ranting. Like she just kept like a rabid dog. Like it was so weird and icky. I don't know. It was unsettling, and she kept like putting words in her mouth, and the other woman is just like, "That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I didn't say that. It's not what I said." Like on repeat, because Rachel kept like accusing her of saying things she didn't and arguing against points she didn't make, and such a mess. I couldn't even sit through it. It was so annoying. Classic, also toxic. Yeah, the asking questions, cutting off, asking questions, cutting off. It's supposed to like drive the other person into this state of like losing their shit. And yeah. Oh, Portugal is cool. It's like a really small little piece of like I always wonder about countries where like on a map it looks like something should be like one thing, but then there's like pieces of it that are something else, and you wonder like how that happened. But it's pretty cool. Especially like sometimes there'll be like a large like landmass and there's like little carve outs, or sometimes like right in the middle of another country there's like a piece of another country. And it makes no sense.
Therefore, under your worldview, since it's all subjective, whatever construct you come up with in your mind and the state enforces it, this means that might makes right under your worldview. No, under my worldview, I believe that morality is objective. I don't appeal to our weird system that's referring to logic and reason, right, so which appeals to the self. So I ground rights. Yeah, but, well, it's very simple. I ground rights, things that you can't ground it in at all. You haven't actually demonstrated it. But once again, Christian ethics is where I ground rights. But under your belief, I don't have to demonstrate anything.
You don't even ground rights in men yourself. You ground rights in Christian ethics.
She's got 'em.
You ground rights.
She's got him right there. I mean,
rights enforcement on a class of individual men who enforce those rights, but you ground rights inherently in God yourself. So what are you doing during force doctrine? This is not for you.
Morality, what I'm speaking about, morality, where
she's got him there. I mean, I don't even know how I can come back from that.
Objective morality, I believe, I appeal to Christian ethics. When we're speaking about
Sure.
rights themselves, rights is just a construct of the mind. And that can only be put into reality by men enforcing it. So men enforcing certain rights, the things that I believe that is morally good that men enforce, I appeal to objective morality, a standard that is not dependent on the mind, it's independent
don't
of a
appeal
mind.
to men.
So what I'm saying to you, since you believe
He
it,
doesn't even appeal to men. I thought he was supposed to appeal to men. This is so stupid. Christian ethics tell husbands to die for their wives for as much. Yeah,
it's objective morality.
He just like ate his own foot.
I don't
Any
believe-
idea that you come up with in your mind, if men gives you that right, if they enforce
I thought God gave you that right.
this right for you, it would be good. So meaning that might would make right in your worldview. Under my worldview, people can enforce certain rights, but I don't appeal to the force. I appeal to God. So in my worldview, I can say,
She said she doesn't appeal to force, so that's not her worldview. What are you talking about, dude? This is so annoying.
no, you're doing crazy things in this world, like slavery and so forth. God is against that in Christian ethics. Under your worldview, since it's all
I mean, the Bible does condone it. I think we wanted to do a conversation about that where re-examination was going to argue that the Bible doesn't condone slavery, but I know we're discussing it still, and it's a maybe, but it seems like there's some question about like the definitions of things. But I thought it was pretty clear that if you're like regulating something, like how you can, like how much you can or can't beat your slave, and how much you like which people you can and can't enslave, I feel like that is like condoning slavery. There's nothing in the Bible that says like you can't have slaves. The only thing that is like, sort of used as a thing that says you shouldn't do it is like that we're all made in the image of God, and we're like, that's meant to kind of push towards us being equal. But there are way more direct lines in the Bible where it does condone the practice than there are anything against it. So yeah, I was wondering when the conversation with her examination was happening. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like if all goes well, maybe towards the end of this month. But we'll see how. Yeah, we'll try to work it out on the back end with like schedules and details and everything. So I am interested in that because it seems like there's some disagreement on whether the Bible does actually or doesn't. I mean, he thinks that the Bible doesn't like condone slavery, but I thought it was pretty clear that it did. But I don't know. I guess we'll get into it. I personally don't know enough to argue against it. I've seen the quotes and they seem pretty clear to me, but I was hoping somebody else could take it, and it seems like we have a possible taker, so we'll see how that goes. No, you can only you can only beat your slave in a specific way, but since you can't have slaves anyway, it's just one of those silly laws, like the one that says you need to have a guy carrying a lantern in front of your car while driving through town.
all subjective. You have to appeal to
This is the thing.
whoever
If
can
both
enforce
of us
the right.
demonstrate- This is where the force doctrine just dies, because it's done, right? If both of us can appeal to some kind of objective morality, then therefore we're appealing to something outside of an enforcement class of muscular men to grant us rights. Men can enforce rights that you believe are given by God. I would say are granted by a social contract.
You're a woman. You
can't
don't even
generate
understand.
Well-
It's
What? She just like handed. Okay. You know what?
it's not
Okay, wait.
just muscular men.
I think we're also okay. I think we're still on different things here. Okay, wait. What is?
Yeah, but what she's saying that is not that men are appealing to muscular men. It's that
Well,
you don't even understand.
yeah.
A 5'4" male that's maybe not that strong can still beat up a 6'7" man. So what you're saying is just not true, because men tend to have a capacity when it comes to like enforcing things. It's not just about brute strength. It's about having a capacity to techniques and many different other things to
You can apply that to
win a battle.
Well, here, real quick.
No,
Let's
you
wait.
don't-
Let's
you
wait.
can't
Let's do
apply
this.
it
Wait.
to
Let's do
women
this.
equally
Wait. Let's do
because
this.
they don't
Wait.
have
Real quick. Let's just
they
do
don't
this.
have
Okay.
the same capacity
Wait,
of strength as.
Wait. Okay. What's
Intellectual
how do we
capacity.
can we define force doctrine? Let's start for okay. Either one of you, whoever wants to go first. What are we working for here on our definition of force
Yeah,
doctrine?
very simple. It's very simple. Force doctrine, if we're going to that, is very simple. So it's a descriptor claim, not a prescriptor claim, and it states that rights and laws, and any rights and laws that we have in society, men enforce those rights and laws. It's men that's going to do it. Women can't enforce their rights themselves. Also, rights equals force because rights themselves is only a construction of the mind.
Okay, so there's two big different parts to this, and then you guys are going back and forth arguing. So the first part is that because I think Tilly agrees on the first part that the enforcement class can be male or whatever, but then the second part you're saying is that rights equal enforcement. Is that? And I think you guys have a substantive disagreement here.
Yeah, rights equal enforcement because, well, how do you have a right? And she keeps appealing to the mind. She's saying, well, I can think that I have this right in my mind, but
Sure.
you
So
know,
then one
then
thing
she
you guys
used
are
the
getting,
analogy like math.
Yeah. So
They're going in circles too much. I don't know if we can keep going with this because I feel like I've already commented on everything they're saying, and they keep repeating the same stuff. Well, especially Cooley here. He keeps on like hammering the same exact points over and over and over, and they're so stupid. I don't know if I could do it anymore. Sorry. I wanted to get through more of it, but we're right about there's like exactly an hour left, so we're like we got halfway through it, and I just don't think I can do it. I don't know if there's like a question, like a Q&A session, or if it's all like all the way through the debate, but they're not getting anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Oh my goodness. Full disclosure, I am re-examination. Oh, that is you. Okay, I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought that you were different people, but that makes a lot more sense. My dispute is the regulation does not equal more justification. This is an alternate account. The way I was for the slavery got. That makes more sense now because I was like, you were talking about like being in a video with, like doing a force doctrine debate with Wilson, and I was like, wait, another one? That makes so much more sense now because I was like, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, because we were talking about potentially like defining condoning differently or something. I don't know. I'll have to catch up on the Discord, but is that regulation does not equal moral justification. This isn't the world was filled with slavery, got limited incrementally. Yeah, I'm just not seeing like not that I want to like do the whole debate right now with like you and chat. I mean, speaking that wouldn't really be fair, but it's just like it's God, right? He could have just been like, no, it's not allowed, no slavery, banned. But no, it's almost encouraged in some of the quotes. Like I don't know. I am really interested to hear that conversation because I've seen a lot of like a handful of Bible quotes where it is like, here's how you do it, here's how to not do it. I'm not seeing like any incremental limiting. I'm not seeing any banning when like God is all powerful, right? An all powerful being has this like directions book thing for you. And in this directions book, not only has he failed to mention, hey, don't enslave other people, but he even gave you rules on how to enslave people properly. Like, I'm sorry, it's not fitting together for me like that. I do want to really hear like a real back and forth because it's not fair like this. So yeah, encourage this in anachronism if you don't see incrementalism, read slavery in the ancient world. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I am interested to hear that conversation because, like I said, I've seen the quotes from the Bible, which is supposedly the word of God, right? And he could have done anything. He could have been like, nope, don't do it. There's no reason. Like, why did it even have to be incremental? Even though I'm not even seeing the incremental part, but again, there's no reason that it even had to be incremental. Even if the incremental part is true, there's no reason it had to be incremental in any way. And yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing it. Like, why wasn't like murder also like incremental? Because I'm sure there was a lot of murder too. Why couldn't they be like, oh, only like murder sometimes, like on weekends or whatever, and then transition into like, oh, well, now do it all the time. Like, why are some things like, oh, well, thou shalt not kill? Why can't it also be like, thou shalt not enslave? Like, there is no good reason why, like, God couldn't have spoken to, like, Jesus or whatever, or the people writing the Bible, or there's no reason why Jesus couldn't have said, thou shalt not enslave. Like, there is no good reason why he couldn't have done that. I'm not understanding it. Did YT censor something? Or is it me? Is it I'm gonna get censored? If we're debating the point within defining the terms, then we might as well discuss it live about definitions before going. Yeah. Yeah, I think like if like so much of the conversation is about definitions, I feel like it would be worth going ahead and doing that part live as well. Because of talking about steps from Oh, your message was censored. Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, be careful. But I think I can like imagine what you were gonna say. I think I'm getting it. Cause like incremental only yeah. I don't want to get banned either, so I'm gonna shut up. See, like it's so hard to have real conversations with YouTube literally like breathing down your neck and you like being afraid to say anything even in jest. So it is what it is. But okay, well I can't do this or this debate. It's painful. It's like they're just going and going in circles. So it is what it is. But I am looking forward to it. I hope that the other person can also make it during that date and everything. But we'll get it sorted out. So I think I am interested to hear like the full back and forth about that. But like as it stands, like I'm not seeing how it could possibly like be excused. But again, I'm down to listen. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I'm gonna be logging off now. And this hard drive keeps making these sounds and it keeps freaking me out and I have to keep reminding myself that it's not like somebody about to come and murder me. That it's just this thing, but yeah, hopefully it'll be. It says that there's literally like a day left because I'm copying stuff from the old one because my other backup drive crapped out, and the like little progress bar literally says like about a day. Oh, now it says about 19 hours, and it's like a third of the way through. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay, well, that is what it is. Thanks for hanging out, everybody, and I hope you have a good night. It is getting pretty late. It's even for me. And I will see you next time. I'm gonna try working on editing that video because I want to get it out there, the Forced Doctrine one, because I keep seeing all these debates pop up and I keep like repeating myself, and I really want to get it out there. So I'm gonna try working on that tomorrow since I'll have the day off, and then if I'm not done tomorrow, which I probably won't be, I'll be working on it like starting like Wednesday and the rest of next week because I'll be on vacation. So I should have plenty of time next week as well. Yep, you guys have a good night, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.